It's okay to start as a jack of all trades, but at some point you need to have a specialty, you need to have a skill set. Most of the people I worked with were very high-end financial advisors, insurance advisors. It's how I met Patrick Bet-David. I'll tell that story. He's like, I want you to be the first to officially sign with Valuetainment. We have multiple channels, Valuetainment Short Clips, Valuetainment Money, multiple podcasts. We're at approaching like 10 million subs, I want to say. There were conversations of like, who's going to be the first to interview Tate? So we went there, not as like, we're here to have your back and defend you, or we're here not to disparage you. We're here to hear your side of the argument.
Yeah.
What's going on here? I know so many women who are turning 40 right now that I've known for years that made their money, but they don't have a man, they don't have kids, they don't have a family. Yeah. They're very sad. One of the things that I love of being a man is clarity. Dude, it's pretty clear. Make your freaking money, look good, kick ass, and everything else will fall in place.
Where are you guys taking it? What's the goal?
Because the vision is to build.
What's up, Wealth Builders? Today, I've got somebody special on the podcast. This man has done a lot in his business career, but he's probably most known for being one of the co-hosts as part of just this whole Valuetainment ecosystem. I've got Adam Sosnick. What's up, man?
What's up, Ryan Pineda?
Good to see you.
Great to see you, man. You look fresh as always. The hair.
You know, I got my Valuetainment hair.
Yeah,
this is for
thank you.
So
we're matching.
Yeah. So
just before we get started, is it fair to say you have the best hair in the business?
I mean, I don't want to say it, but if other people say it, I'm not going to dispute it.
If there's like high school superlatives, it's like most likely to have the best hair,
I would
Ryan
win.
Pineda.
Yeah, I would for sure win.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? Actually, my senior year of high school, I actually shaved my head. So I didn't even have hair.
Disrespecting God, my friend. You have hair like that, you're not shave it.
I know. I don't know why I did that. My first bunch of years playing baseball, I did it because it was just like, well, actually, you know why I did it? Because I was broke in college. That was why I did it.
Save money on haircuts.
Yeah, we couldn't get haircuts. So we would just shave our heads in baseball, and I was like, whatever. So that was why we did it.
There you go. Don't shave it now, dude.
No, now I get a haircut every week to line it up.
And you said that you change the color every month.
Every month I change the color, and then now I have a beard, which is a new thing. I never had a beard.
This thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a beard. This is
I'm not disparaging the beard, but I know some guys with beards.
Yeah, like my partner over there's got a beard, Brian. He's got a good one.
Respect, Brian.
But no, I was literally baby-faced a year ago.
Yeah.
And then I started taking minoxidil and all this crap on my face, and now I have a beard.
Minoxidil? That's Rogaine.
I know. I put it on my face.
Stop it.
No, I'm serious.
Are you being serious right
For
now?
6 months straight, I put Rogaine on my face, and I grew a beard.
Legit.
Yeah.
Minoxidil, I'm familiar with the Rogaine product. This isn't a sponsor. But I didn't know you could put it on your face.
I don't think they tell you to do it, but I was online one day and somebody was like, you know, you can grow a beard with minoxidil. And I was like, what? So I ordered some on Amazon. It was literally $30. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you want, also take biotin. It's like a little droplet you can put in your mouth. So for $50, I bought minoxidil and biotin, and I did it for 6 months straight.
Were you struggling growing a beard? What was going on?
I mean, I'm Asian, dude. We can't grow beards.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go there, but you went there.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to the Asian community. Get your minoxidil on. Get that beard right.
You can get one.
Yeah.
So now I have a beard, and I've never been happier. It was the only thing in my life that I was missing, and now it's here.
The one thing in Ryan Pineda's life that was missing was a
beard.
Grown man beard, and now so you've done it.
I've done it.
Done everything you wanted to accomplish.
I can die.
Time to retire, bro.
I know.
With that beard.
Exactly.
Sick. I like that.
On September 25th to the 27th, I'm holding my biggest virtual event ever called the Profit Partner Challenge, and it's going to be epic. I'm gonna be going over the #1 way to get started in real estate, and I'll tell you, it's not wholesaling, it's not flipping, it's not buy and hold, it's not Airbnb, it's not multifamily, it's something completely different. And the great thing about getting started this way in real estate is you can do it from your house with just a computer and Wi-Fi. And you might be wondering, what exactly am I talking about? Well, what if I told you that you could use my team to close all of your deals? We negotiate with the seller, we figure out what we're gonna do with it, and then we make a profit together. Well, I've built out the team to do exactly that. I just need your help with identifying these sellers all across the country that we could be doing deals with. And so if that sounds like something you want to be a part of with partnering with my team and learning how you can get into the real estate business in the safest and easiest way possible, then you'll want to make sure you attend this free 3-day challenge. So if you're interested in joining, go to wealthyworkshop.com. You can sign up today. It's completely free. and I'll see you there. So once again, go to wealthyworkshop.com or click the link below.
So for those who don't know you, dude, I mean, yeah, a lot of people who watch the PBD podcast and everything else, they could probably watch your podcast. Like, they've seen you around, but I think even with Patrick and stuff, nobody really knows
where the hell this guy come from.
Well, also too, like, what does he do? Like, so who are you?
Who am I? So I'll give you just like the quick elevator pitch, the evolution of Sauce. In my 20s, you were a baseball player. I played college football.
Yep.
Played a little bit of basketball as well. Went to Florida State, FSU in Tallahassee, Florida, where Ron DeSantis is holding camp these days. And I was just a typical, you allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Just a typical Miami, Florida boy, just playing sports, going out, partying, chicks. I got into nightlife.
Yeah.
I was what I would say a jack of all trades in my 20s. I had no clue what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Money, wealth was not my way. And
you were just spending everything you made.
I didn't make any. I did stand-up comedy and I did nightlife. Those sort of my staples. So I would say I got paid in drink tickets and chicks and laughs, and I was having a great time. And I had no clue, like, the vision for my life, right? Like every young man out there should certainly have some sort of mission or purpose that they're trying to achieve, some sort of goal, you know, as Simon Sinek would say, your why. I had no why.
Yeah.
I knew that my who, what, when, where, but just not the why. And I was just having a great time. I've always been a networker, going out, hey, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Come on in, blah, blah. Thanks for being here. I was running hotels and nightlife and doing all that, making no money.
Yeah.
So that was the first phase of me. And then you'll appreciate this as a real estate guy.
Yep.
A buddy of mine, this would have been in 2006-ish. This is when pre-bubble, Miami was blowing up, born and raised in Miami Beach, South Beach. And a buddy of mine was doing real estate. I mean, knucklehead.
Yeah.
Absolute knucklehead. He's like, hey, what up, Saz? You know, I made 70 grand. I was like, oh, you made 70 grand this year? No, my commission check this month, 70 grand. I go, you telling me you made 70 grand in one check? And this is 2006. And literally, Ryan, the most I'd ever made in my life at that point was 20 grand. Okay.
It was like Wolf of Wall Street.
I'm like, you show me a check for $70,000. That's it. I come work for you. Done. And I was like, all right, something's got to change, dude. And the one asset that I did have was a good Rolodex.
Yeah.
So you never know. Treat people well. You know, my mom would always tell me, like, treat the janitor the same as the CEO. I don't care what you want to be. Just be the best version of it. And a business contact of mine, I reached out to him. He was starting sort of a life insurance derivative hedge fund. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you what a hedge fund was, life insurance was, certainly what a derivative was.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I work for you?
Yeah.
Right? He's like, I always liked you, Adam, and, you know, come on in. We'll put you on the phones. Are you scared of making phone calls? Not at all. Like, I'm good to go. And I started off as a cold caller for this financial firm. And it's in something called the life insurance settlement business, which not the sexiest business, but, you know, businesses don't need to be sexy to be profitable. My first year in the business, I'm smiling and dialing. I make $5 grand. And all right, like, how do you survive on $5 grand? Luckily, I was crashing on good friends' couches. I was just, you know, when you're 25 years old, you don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Right? When you're 30, you're 40, you know, life gets more expensive. So at that time, I'm just crashing with buddies, doing whatever. I highly recommend it when you're young. Roommates, buddies, keep it lean, all good. You're never going to have that opportunity again in your life. Yep. Hopefully. My second year in the business, made 100 grand. And to me,
what did you do different? Why'd you have such a 20x jump?
Just anything in sales takes 12 months.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some people might do it in 6 months. Some people might take 18 months. But sales, especially the cycle of these products, it takes 3 to 6 months even fund a deal.
Okay.
So I knew going in, like, I'm not making money my first year.
But you were building up a pipeline.
I was building up a pipeline.
Yeah.
And I made some money. And for me, that was a big deal at that time. And then next thing that happens, it's 2008. And the whole world goes to crap. You know, the mortgage business, real estate business. By the way, what year did you get involved in real estate?
2010 after.
All right. So timing, buy the dip.
Yeah.
And everyone was looking for jobs. Everyone was looking for careers. I'm in this sort of newish industry. It's not life insurance. It's sort of adjacent to it. It's very unique. You know, they say that the riches are in the niches. And we lost all our funding. There was some intricacies in the insurance world where that was problematic. You know, AIG was going out of business. They got bailed out. All this stuff was going. Income took a hit. But where was I going? What was I going to do, right? My aunt, who's very successful in real estate, she told me, I dabbled in real estate and it wasn't for me. I was like, you like bathrooms? Here's one. You like bedrooms? There you go. It just wasn't my deal. But she said, if you're not going to be typical like Jewish motherly figure, if you're not going to be a doctor, if you're not going to be a lawyer, learn how to sell something.
Yeah.
So I just doubled down on this business. And as soon as the floodgates opened, I would say like 2010 at this point, it was sort of like, you've seen Forrest Gump. Mm-hmm. Remember when he was like the only ship in the ocean and he got all the shrimp?
Yeah.
That's basically what happened with us, is that we stuck it out. A lot of business folded. A lot of businesses just didn't make it through everything that was going on in the recession. And we just became sort of like the Bubba Gump shrimp company of this business. I played the long game. My income skyrocketed. And I became a specialist. So my message out there is, it's okay to start as a jack of all trades, all good. But at some point, you need to have a specialty. You need to have a skill set. Skills pay the bills. Degrees pay fees. So I became an expert at this. And the good and bad of that, Ryan, was it was awesome in the business world. Most of the people I worked with were very high-end financial advisors, insurance advisors. It's how I met Patrick Bet-David. I'll tell that story. But it was not relatable to everyone else that I knew. All my buddies, the nightlife people, they're like, Adam, what's up? I'm like, oh, well, you know, life insurance, S&P 500, the index annuities. They're just like, what are you talking about, bro?
Entrepreneurs, if you want to grow your business, there is no better investment than your own personal brand. The smartest thing I ever did was start creating content and investing into my brand. Ever since then, we've been able to triple our business. I've been able to raise more money than ever to continue buying more real estate. And it's all because I create content just like this. Now, a lot of people have asked me, Ryan, how am I supposed to do it? I don't know where to start. I don't know who's going to edit it. I don't know even what kind of setup or camera or anything to do. Well, here's the thing. We can help you with all of that at Pineda Media. We have a podcast checklist that you can actually get for free at pinedamedia.com that's going to go over everything you need on starting a podcast. But to make matters even better, we'll actually edit your podcast for you. We'll repurpose it into short form clips like you see on my Instagram and my TikTok so that people will start seeing those clips and watching your podcast and in turn being customers or investors in your business. So if you want the one-stop solution where you can get everything done for you, plus get the education you need to grow your personal brand, then you need to go to pinedamedia.com and book a free call with our team. You can also go get that free podcast checklist and that training program absolutely free by just going there. So go check it out.
So I recognize that that is what I do, but it's not who I am. So the third evolution was starting to do content. And at the time, it's very weird in the financial services space. I think that rules have laxed. A lot of times, if you're like regulated by the insurance industry or FINRA or SEC, or certainly a broker dealer, you're actually not allowed to talk about stuff on social media. You can't go on, these days things have changed a little bit, depending on the company or the career agency you're with. But for the most part, financial advisors weren't out there doing content, giving away free advice.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, well, I'll do it. You know, I work for a boutique firm, not a huge firm, 30 people, what have you. They don't there's not rules, regulations, or guidelines I have to abide by. And I started doing content. And essentially my story was like, I was broke as hell in the nightlife comedy space. I got a job, paid my dues, stuck it out, ate shit, made millions. And now, here's what I've learned as someone who's been where you're at and maybe where you want to get to. And these are the lessons I've learned. And I developed sort of like a 6-pronged principle to wealth, building wealth. And, my tagline was save that money. And I was going around doing that. And PBD saw what I was doing. And he's like, hey, man, I like what you're doing, bro. Keep it up. I'm like, well, yeah, Patrick Bet-David, I like what you're doing, buddy, with Valuetainment. What's the vision with that?
What year was this?
This would have been 2016-ish.
Okay, got it.
Right? And I would see Pat every year at this insurance conference. So the story with Pat is I met Pat in 2012 working out in the gym at an insurance conference. I say, like, you never know who's going to do what. Pat was one of literally thousands of insurance financial professionals that I was doing business with or networking with.
Was he already a big insurance guy at this point?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, certainly not as big as he became or is now. Yeah. But no.
Nobody thought this guy was like going to be what he is.
It wasn't like, oh, that's Patrick Bet-David, check that guy. It was like, oh, there's another guy at the conference.
He's doing good. Yeah.
Doing good. He's got his thing going on. He just started his company in 2009.
Okay.
So it was, startup
Yep.
Insurance company. And then, he told me his strategy in 2012, and it was different from any strategy I've heard from any insurance financial professional. It's Blue Ocean Strategy. He read that book. Yep. Everyone's going this way, swimming in the red ocean with the sharks. And he went this way. And it obviously worked. He doubled down. Like, the average agent was a 60-year-old white male in the insurance space who didn't do social media.
Yeah.
And he went after millennial Latina women savvy with social media, completely Blue Ocean Strategy, built that. That had its ups and downs. He's obviously crushed it. And then I started seeing what he was doing with Valuetainment in 2016. I'm like, dude, what is these videos, these how-tos, these board episodes? Like, what's up? I didn't even know about this. Because then when I would see him, we would talk insurance business. And he's like, listen, you should start doing content, get in front of a camera, start doing some stuff. I was like, all right, you got it, sir. And I just started doing it and kind of was, newer in that space, like literally and figuratively. I'd never done social media. I didn't have MySpace. I didn't have Friendster. I didn't have Facebook, nada, zero. So I started doing Instagram content. And if you remember, even back then in, 2012, 13, 14, 15, like, it was sort of a cool contest.
Yeah.
It wasn't business content.
It was
now
flexing.
It's all, it was what?
It was all just flexing.
All flexing.
Yeah.
And I was late to the flexing game.
Yeah.
So, I'm out in South Beach. I've been in the nightlife. I know all the guys. I know all the chicks. I know everything. I have friends that are playing the NBA, the Kardashians, all of them. I was late to the game. So what am I going to be like? Number 1,000 influencer doing the same spiel that everyone else is doing, or kind of do a Blue Ocean Strategy and start doing financial business content.
Yep.
So that picked up some steam, nothing crazy. I had no clue what I was doing as far as YouTube, Instagram, nothing. But I would always check in with Pat. He's like, I like what you did with that video. Do this next time. Check that out. Sort of a mentor,
he was keeping
friend.
tabs on you.
Keeping tabs.
Yeah.
Pat is always keeping tabs.
Yeah. You were just telling me that.
Yeah. Always keeping tabs. He's like, oh yeah, all right, say hi to Pineda. I like what he's doing. Say what's up.
Yeah.
He's like keeping tabs. He's surveying the land.
Yeah.
And then in long story short, the evolution, like the third phase of it is like in 2019, we started talking about what his vision of Valuetainment was, that he wanted it to be more than just Patrick Bet-David. He wanted to have, content creators and hosts on this show. And
this was
platform.
Way before this was ever even like a big thing.
It was just PBD.
He knew.
Yes, he knew.
Wanted.
2019, we start talking, and look, when they say play the long game, I knew Pat in 2012.
Yeah.
In 2019, we start talking about what it would even look like. That was a 6 to 9 month process of him even being comfortable having me on the team.
Yeah.
And he knew me. It's not like I'm some random dude. You know, what skeletons in your closet? What are your political affiliations? What do you believe? What are your values and principles? Am I going to find out anything crazy about you, Adam, that is going to ruin my reputation? Yada, 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 yada. And then fast forward, we start to strike a deal at the beginning of 2020. And what does this look like? I live in Miami. You live in Dallas. What does this even look like? And then, you know, a little thing happened in 2020 called a pandemic.
Yep.
And everything paused. Everything was like, everything we've been working on, pause. And dude, I'm chomping at the bit. 2019 was the wildest, weirdest year in my life. My father passed away. The girl that I thought I was going to marry got cancer. I'm depressed. And I'm usually like the most optimistic, happy-go-lucky guy. I'm just like sulking, feeling bad for myself, naturally so. 2020, all right, cool. And I'm just chomping at the bit to team up with somebody. Like, you probably understand this because you're a baseball guy.
Yeah.
You know, 9 guys on the field. I was a football guy, 11 guys on the field. I was never a solo guy. I wasn't a tennis player. I wasn't a golfer.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't a wrestler. I was a boxer. I was a team sports guy. So I always wanted to be a part of a team. So when Pat and this opportunity was starting to like fizzle, dude, I picked up my ball. I packed up all my stuff in Miami. I'm like, I'm coming to Dallas. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, I'm coming to Dallas. That's where he was based out of. He's like, all right, like, well, I'm like, yeah, I'm coming. I booked a flight. I'll be there this week. I'm going to come see you, spend time with you. And if this works out, I'm moving to Dallas, done. And that's exactly what happened. And if you want something, you go for it. And the day that I went to Dallas, because I booked a flight for a week, I told Pat, I told his guy Mario that's been with him for 18 years, forever. I'm like, I'm coming here, guys. I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
Right? Wolf of Wall Street vibes.
Yeah.
And I've been with him basically since that day. So
and then you guys ended up back in Miami.
Exactly. So then it's so funny because I was at a time in my life where, born and raised in Miami, other than ties to Miami, friends, family, lifestyle, I was more than open to being flexible to where my next step was.
Yeah.
So he's talking about maybe staying in Dallas, maybe moving to LA to start this media company, maybe New York. He's throwing Nashville out there. And then like 5th on that list was South Florida or Florida. And then as COVID sort of played out, lockdowns, California, Newsom, everything that happened with Cuomo, New York.
He's like, nah.
He's like, nah. And then at this time, he's like, all right, so tell me about Florida. I'm like, well, you know, it's a big state, you know, not a small one. What do you think? And at this time, this is when Brady just signed with Tampa.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're doing a big event with Brady, ironically, at the end of the month at the Vault event that we do. Tom Brady, Mike Tyson, PBD.
Nice.
Sick. So he's like, what do you think about Tampa? And no offense to my Tampa friends, I'm like, that ain't it, dude.
That place is boring.
That ain't where you're starting a media company. Don't, just because Tom Brady signed there for 2 years, like, don't mean you need a transplant. And then I'm not gonna say that I was the reason that we ended up where we are, but I was sort of like, he's like, so tell me about Palm Beach.
You're like,
Mar-a-Lago, Trump. I'm like, yeah, it's great when you're 80 and retired, but you know, you're in your early 40s. I'm 40 at the time. Like, we want to go further south to Miami. And he's like, we're not going to do Miami. I'm happily married. I'd like to stay married. So it was sort of like this negotiation of where in South Florida. We ended up in Boca, which is sort of like wealthier, retiree, younger vibes. And now we've eventually settled in Fort Lauderdale. That's our home. That's our base. So long story short, I was a jack of all trades, didn't know what I was doing, became a financial specialist, made my money before I started doing content, and teamed up with who I think is one of the, if not the best, business leader period in the marketplace these days. And I'll gladly be number 2 to his Jordan. I'll gladly be the Scottie Pippen to his Michael Jordan. And then after working for him for a few years, I was like, I don't need any money. I don't want any money. Don't like for free, all good. I want to see how this works. No expectations. That's how you know, like, I'm here for this.
Yeah.
As he really doubled down on the media side of things and growing things out, and he started hiring content creators and hosts of shows, he's like, I want you to be the first to officially sign with Valuetainment. So, sign the contract, talent. All good. First talent signed, Valuetainment. So I co-host his podcast, which I showed you was number 4, the number 4 podcast in the country right now in the world, which is insane.
Yeah.
We were number 13 a month ago. We were like number 100 a year ago. Now we're number 4. Rogan, who we were just with a week ago in Austin, is obviously the top dog. But it's just like a pinch me situation where here I am running mates with an absolute stud of all studs, and I'll happily be number 2. And it's just what he's building is amazing. What you've built is freaking amazing.
Thank you.
Any guy that has an opportunity to run with someone that has a vision and that is really looking to build something, dude, be number 2, be number 7, be number 10. You don't have to be number 1. Like, your ego is not your amigo. So ego aside, I'll gladly, tip my cap to the boss, the chief, the CEO, El Capitan, and I'll be the consigliere or the number 2 guy or the underboss, whatever.
He's the new captain of the Yankees too.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, he bought a piece of the New York Yankees. He's a minority owner of the Yankees. Crazy.
Wealth Builders, if you are trying to grow your real estate investing business, then you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. If you have no idea what Wealthy Investor is, it is our coaching program and community. We have helped thousands of students worldwide grow their business. Now, it doesn't matter if you're just getting started and you're trying to get that first deal. We can help you do that. If you're trying to scale your business and go from a few deals a year to a few deals a month or even 7 figures a year, we can help you do that too. In fact, last year alone, we had over 30 students do over $1 million in revenue. And I'd love for you to be the next one. So it's pretty simple. If you're trying to grow your business and wholesale more homes or flip more homes or buy more rental properties, then you need to go to wealthyinvestor.com and book a free call with our team. It's super simple. We'll go on a strategy call with you and figure out how we can help you grow according to your needs. So all you got to do is go to wealthyinvestor.com, book the free call with the team, and we'll see you there. Well, one thing I want to say is, one, I love that story, and I'm sure it answered a lot of questions for how you ended up where you've ended up. And I think a few things you said that are really important to know. It was, number one, it was like 10 years in the making.
Yes.
For you to really get to that
Play
point.
the long game, gentlemen.
Yeah. It wasn't like you met him and you're like, bro, like, let's do something.
Let me get a job, dude.
Yeah.
Can I be one of you?
No.
Literally 10 years of just being a good dude.
Yeah, it wasn't, you weren't asking for nothing. No. It was just, hey, we're friends.
Yeah.
We vibe. And then he's like, hey, I got this opportunity. Yeah. And you're like, I'm ready.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
I don't need to think about it.
No.
I don't,
I wasn't too hungry. I wasn't too pushy.
Yep.
But at the same time, I was vocal of, hey, I would love to do something with you.
Yeah.
So there's that balance of being like,
just know I'm open.
Yeah, exactly.
But I got my own stuff. Like,
exactly.
And
I think any time that you kind of have your own money and you're like, I'm not here for a paycheck. I'm here because I believe in what you're doing and the vision.
Yeah.
You're investing in yourself and you're betting on yourself. Short term, it might not be profitable and it might not be lucrative. But 5 years later, when you're a top 5 podcast in the world and you're running with Pat and you're going to Rogan and you're meeting Ron DeSantis and you're meeting all these amazing people, you're hanging with Shaq. It's just like, all right, cool. I'm glad that I wasn't too pushy at the beginning.
And you're like, I wouldn't have done this on my own. Like,
right. I wouldn't have. And I'm fully aware of that if, what's the metaphor, would you rather have 50% of a watermelon or 100% of a grape?
Yeah, exactly.
Give me that watermelon all day, baby.
All day. So I think that part of it was great. I also think the part of that, you also made yourself valuable enough for that opportunity. Because guess what? Pat ain't hiring some bum who hasn't accomplished anything, who hasn't shown loyalty, who hasn't proved something in the marketplace. And, for you spent a decade in this insurance space in a different spot than what Pat was doing.
Yep.
And you showed also too that, hey, when he gave you advice of like, hey, start creating some content, dude. Like he had been testing you for years to see.
Right on that, Captain.
Yeah. If you had aligned with what he was thinking about and the things he was trying to build. And it was like every step of the way, boom. And now we're here.
Right.
So kudos to you for just executing and being valuable before this.
I would say the resounding narrative that I tell people, if you can afford to, right? Obviously, some people need paychecks. So I'm not dismissing that whatsoever. But sometimes your best ability is your availability. And I just made myself 100% available. Yeah. And I was like, oh, we're going here? All right, cool. Oh, you want me to go here? Great. Awesome. And it's worked out well. Yeah.
So let's talk about just where things are going at Valuetainment. So as you said, Valuetainment's been around for like almost 10 years, which is crazy to think about, right? And so I don't know what the early years were like, but I assume it was just Pat on his own, making videos. Yeah. I don't even know what kind of videos he was making.
It took a couple years to even get 1,000 subscribers. Think about that.
Crazy.
He says now we have multiple channels. I think collectively, Valuetainment Short Clips, Valuetainment Money, which my show is on. Multiple podcasts. We're approaching like 10 million subs, I want to say. Yep. Collectively. And we have different Valuetainment Russian, Valuetainment Spanish. Yep. And it's, but the first, kind of like my sales job where I made $5,000 my first year. And then it went from 1 to 2 to 4 to 5 and so on and so forth. His first year of doing content, he had 1,000 subs. Yeah. And then he started doubling down on the entrepreneur.
Also, too, when it would have been easier to get subs. Like, there was no competition.
No competition. Now everyone wants to be a YouTuber. Every kid, back in the day, if you asked when we were in elementary school, whatever, what do you want to be? I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a basketball player. It's like every kid, I think 80, 90% say I want to be a YouTuber or you be an influencer. Yeah. Which is wild. Yeah. So not every kid can just do YouTube. You actually have to do a 4-letter word that is very hard to do these days, and that's work. Yeah. You actually have to do work. Yeah. So creating content is a component of your work and your experience and a byproduct of that. But a lot of kids just want to start doing content without any experience or ever having put in the work. Yeah. It's almost like the get rich quick analogy. I'd rather build wealth slow and build yourself up. But, it's like in anything, the top 1% will figure it out, top 10%, and, 90% or 99% are just going to be stuck at 1,000 subs because maybe they don't have that skill set.
Yeah. I've told this story a couple times, but, we had a kid at one of our wealth cons come up to me and he's I think 19 or 20. And he was like, Ryan, I'm working for this company and, I want to create content and build my personal brand. How should I do it? Yep. And I go, well, why would I want to watch you? Like, what would make me want to watch you?
Very direct question, by the way.
And I'm like, what would make you unique, right? My time's valuable. Why would I want to watch your stuff? Yeah. He's like, I don't know. Because I'm like, I'm not going to watch you for your business acumen because you don't have any. Right. And he's like, well, what if I interviewed business people? I go, you can interview business people, but here's the thing. At that point, nobody is like really respecting you for business advice. You're a content creator. Like you're just becoming a host, an entertainer. Right. And you're good at getting guests and you can interview them. So I go, so let me ask you as somebody who's in business, do you want to go all in on learning the skill, like you talked about before, of being a content creator? Because that's different than being a businessman. And he's like, no, I don't want to be a content creator. I go, well, then you're going to have to go grind for the next 10 years developing your business acumen. Because nobody's going to listen to your content if you're just trying to be a guy who gives business advice. People listen to Pat because of what he's done.
He's done 20 years of business.
Yeah.
Right.
You just don't.
Same reason why people listen to you. Yeah. Because you put in a decade of real estate and everything that you do. Yeah. You didn't just pop off and say, I want to do a podcast, bro. Right. Yeah. Same thing with me. It's like, I've been in the financial services space since 2006, 17 years. Yeah. I didn't start doing content 10 years into my career. Yeah. And I feel like I'm just finding my groove right now.
Well, and I'll say this too, and it'd actually be great to hear your perspective. I don't say that to discourage anyone who's on their journey to not create content, because media is the future. It's now. So I think everyone should, as Gary Vee says, document the journey, right?
Yep.
And if you start making content, you will get people who reach out to you for deal flow, for investors, for clients. So like, it will help you get to the level you want to be at. But if you want to be like an authority in the space, there's no other way to do it. It's just, you have to earn it. You have to do it through your
Another
accomplishments.
great word, earn.
Earn.
Work and earn.
Yeah.
4-letter words.
Yeah. And one thing I actually told my team, because we were talking about this, right? And actually, Pat gave me this advice a year ago when we first met. Pat goes, hey, Ryan, what I would do if I was you is I would take a break from social media and I would really think about what your next goals are and where you want to take your channels and your brand and everything else. And I really took it to heart, and I started to think about it. I was like, so where are we going with this, And
how long did you take a pause for?
I took a pause probably for like a week.
Hey man, it was a tough week.
It was a tough week. Pat was like, I took a pause for like 3 months or something, right?
He's done that twice.
Yeah, he told me that story.
Yeah.
And he's like, I took a pause at like 250,000 subs and 1 million and all that stuff. But basically, the realization I came to as a content creator, not a businessman, was that the level at which my following will grow will also be parallel to the level at which my business grows. Because if you think about who are the biggest entrepreneurs today on social media, well, guess what? They all have 9-figure businesses.
Right.
Like, they're all really like Pat, Gary Vee,
David, Grant Cardone.
They're all billionaires.
Dan Fleischman even.
Yeah. Why are they growing so big? I mean, yeah, their content's good, but it's not like world class. Like, it's just otherworldly of like, man, dude, they have like Mr. Beast level crazy stuff. They just literally, they do podcasts, they talk, but guess what? Their track record and experience gives their conversation substance and the authority.
Yeah.
And so, I told the team, I go, look, I mean, obviously we're growing and it's great and it's really fast, but we will cap out based on our current business level.
Right.
And so if we want to increase this, we also must increase this simultaneously.
Right. And I'm under the assumption that the business feeds the media.
Correct.
Right. So like, I think it was Bob Iger, Disney. He says, we don't make movies to make money. We make money to make movies.
Yeah.
Right. So their goal is to make movies, but in order to make movies, you need to make money.
Yeah.
So it's not, hey, we want to make money, so let's make some movies, let's say. So it's a sort of a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the left and the right, you're just,
Yeah, it just keeps feeding each other.
It feeds the beast. Shout out to Mr. Beast right there.
I mean, look at him. He's already going to be a billionaire. He already is a billionaire.
Right.
At 23 or 24.
Insane what that guy's done, man.
Insane, right? Yeah. And so basically the way I looked at it was, okay, you can't look at your journey today, talking to myself.
Yeah.
Pat's got 20 years on me.
Right.
In terms of business and everything else. You've got Gary Vee and those guys who've been they're just so much further along in their business career. But also too, Pat even said this. He goes, dude, I mean, you've only been on social media for a few years. Like, I had 1,000 subs, like you said. He's like, the trajectory is so much higher.
No doubt.
And he's like, you just got to stay with it. You just got to, there's a lot of people who start hot, but can you maintain?
Correct.
And keep doing it?
Correct. Yeah, the long-term growth will tell all, right? So anyone can get hot for a couple ye's real quick. Can you sustain it?
Yeah.
How long is your can you keep doing this?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so the craziest story in the news right now is that the story of the girl Lil Tay.
I don't know her.
Okay. You guys know who that is?
No.
Lil Tay?
No.
So you'll know who she is once I tell you. She was one of your people's, young little Asian girl. Okay, that started off doing social media at 9 years old.
Wow.
Okay, and she would be like flexing on the money. She called herself like the youngest flexer. She'd be out there like counting money, like getting out of a Lamborghini. She's 9. She ain't driving, dude. But she went the shock and awe and bombastic approach. Here's a 9-year-old little Asian girl flexing on him.
Yeah.
And okay, people are like, what the f-? You got, a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers, whatever happened. 9 years old, bro. And now I think she's 16, and knock on wood, I don't know, apparently she died.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I saw a story come out that it was her and her brother that died. Now there's another story going on out there that it's actually not true, but it's a very weird situation. What's my point? Okay, so you flexed on them, and your star was shining bright at 9, 10, 11 years old, but at 16, you may or not be dead right now. I hope not.
Yeah.
But that's what the word on the show was. That any of you guys know about that story? You think it was fake? Okay, but
either way,
no one was like, "Oh my God, Lil Tay."
Yeah.
She was
But look at like all these childhood actors.
Yes,
who,
childhood actors. Exactly.
thing.
That's my point.
Yep.
Is that you go for the gusto maybe too soon and don't have that long-term vision.
Yeah.
And build wealth the long, slow, hard way. The wealthy way.
Exactly.
Shout out to Ryan.
Yep.
And you go for the immediate clicks, views, eyeballs, and there might be a very unhappy ending at the end.
Yeah, let me tell you a story about that. So, there's a lot of YouTubers that get burnt out, right?
Yeah.
And so, they get burnt out for a few reasons. Number one, usually they're just chasing views. So they're making content they don't want to make. It's just, this is what, gets views.
The Disney thing.
Yeah.
They're making content to make money. They're not making money to make content.
Exactly. And then you have people like Pat who've done it for 10 years, but he's done it in a way that is a race he can run, right? He's not like, oh, dude, I got to put out 2 videos every single day and chase. Like, he's like, no, I'm going to put out the content I want to put out, and I'm going to do it in a way I want to do it. And if I want to take a break, I'm going to take a break. And it's very, like, he's running a marathon, right?
Yes.
There's many people. No
doubt.
Who runs
Says I'm
sprints.
going on a 20-year run in the media space.
Yeah.
It's not about this week, next year. Obviously, there's KPIs and certain indicators of success, but he's very clear on the vision that this is a 20-year run.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, bro, I'll put me in the sidecar, baby.
I'll do it. So with that being said, I think for any entrepreneur listening, okay, if you want to become an authority on social media, you got to earn it. You got to just continue to work hard and build, and social media will help you build. I mean, social media helped Pat, build his business to what it was, have a multiple 9-figure exit. Then that was able to go spend more money on media, which then helps him do more business. And it's just this cycle. Correct. So, everything kind of works together, but you'll only grow as big as your business allows you to.
Totally agree.
So what do you think? Has Pat changed at all since he had a massive exit?
No, I wish. He's working harder and more longer hours than ever before. I mean, that's the crazy thing with running with a guy like Pat, to be honest with you, Ryan, was that, I had a dream when I was broke in my 20s. One day I'm going to be a millionaire. And next thing I'm 35 and I become a millionaire. And I'm like, I did it, y'all. I did it. Okay. And I was like, I just want to be the man in Miami. Right. Like I've never wanted to be like the most famous guy in the country, in the world. I didn't want to take over the world. I was like, I want to be a millionaire and be cool in Miami. That was my dream. Right. And then I aligned myself with Pat, who is worth hundreds of millions these days.
Yep.
He's in the office first, last man out, could easily retire at any point right now.
Yeah.
But he's working harder and has a bigger vision than ever. And he doesn't have this dream of, being the man in Dallas or Florida or United States. He says, we're going to take over the world. So for someone like me,
does he want to be the president? Is that his goal?
I think if he was born in this country, because he's born in Iran, made in America, that's his sort of tagline, I could see himself being very interested in something like that.
So the rule is you have to be born here.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there was, we had, was it Cenk? We had, I think, Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, if you're familiar with that, massive YouTube.
Okay.
he was basically saying, well, you don't necessarily have to be. I'm not sure. There's like that caveat, but let's just go on your understanding that you need to be born in the United States to be president. So I think he's come to terms with that's not his
I was going to say, you might be the vice president. Dude.
What's up? Yeah, well, he's always like, I'm grooming you to be a politician. I'm like, I want no part of politics, bro. I have friends deep in the political game.
Yeah.
That is not an aspiration of mine. So we're going all in on media and business and consulting. And that's kind of the lane we want to play in.
Let's talk about this politics thing for a minute. So obviously Valuetainment started as, you know, a place for entrepreneurs, I would say, right?
That was our one word. Entrepreneurs, free market, capitalism, business.
It was all about that.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, in then maybe the last couple of years, it now is like the PBD podcast is more political than anything.
Yeah.
So what caused that switch?
Yeah. Well, I have a very inside perspective to how it happened. So I think I can speak very poignantly about this. So came to Valuetainment. This is in 2020. And it was the channel for entrepreneurs. That's what it was. That was our tagline. The number one channel in the world for entrepreneurs. And Pat, for years and years, would always want to talk politics, talk current events. He not so quietly says, you know, they'd always say things like, there's a couple of things you don't talk about in business, politics being one of them, sex, relationships being another, and religion being a third. And Pat, you know, probably because he's from Iran and had to flee Iran during the revolution, when the Shah was exiled and Khomeini came over. I think there's just something in his DNA of like, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Right. Like what Elon Musk did on CNBC recently.
Yeah.
When they're like, the host of CNBC asked him, you know, sometimes your tweets and sometimes the things you say might hurt the stock price. How much does this concern you? And he said, and he gives this like deep, long pause. So imagine if I'm talking and I just, imagine how uncomfortable it was. That was 3 seconds.
Yeah.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
Right? Like it might have been 10, but it felt like a year. And he says, it reminds me of the movie The Princess Bride. You ever see that movie?
No.
Amazing movie. You have to see it. See it with your kids, dude.
Yeah.
Princess Bride, anyone?
No, I haven't seen it.
Come on, bro. Anyway,
gotta watch
go
it.
see the movie. He says there's a line where the main character, his name was Inigo Montoya.
Okay.
He confronts his father's killer. And that was sort of the basic premise of the movie, is that was hunting down the man that killed his father, and he finds him. And he has a knife sword to the guy's neck. And he said he's basically going to kill the guy. And the guy is trying to convince him not to kill him. And Elon Musk quotes the movie. He says, offer me money, offer me riches, offer me anything you want to offer me. I don't care. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's what Elon said. So I think there's an element of that with Pat.
He's made his money. He don't care.
So, and this is, we started the podcast 2 years before he had his big exit.
Yeah.
So to get to the nitty gritty, he wanted to do this podcast. It was all just, you know, board episodes or just man to camera. It wasn't conversational, but he had never done a podcast. So we started the podcast, and it wasn't even called the PBD podcast at the time. We did 10 episodes, and it was called The Unusual Suspects. And it was Patrick, myself, and a third guy at the time, who's no longer with the company. Still got a lot of love for that guy. And it was called The Unusual Suspects. And essentially it was a Middle Eastern, a Christian, and a Jew walk into a podcast. Welcome to The Unusual Suspects.
Okay.
And the guy, the Christian, was as MAGA as they come. Like MAGA'd out.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of, how do I put this? Sort of like a moderate synergist. I'm not team red. I'm not team blue. I'm all about red, white, and blue. I love America.
Yeah.
And to see what's going on in politics today is pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I'd rather do something about it than complain about it.
Yep.
And Pat being a capitalist, a staunch capitalist, a proud capitalist, wanted to kind of express views beyond the typical entrepreneurship mantra or motif. And we started talking politics, and we started doing it on valuetainment. So Ryan, to get to the heart of your question, we're doing entrepreneurship content, capitalism, business, money, finance, and all of a sudden we're like, so fucking Trump, here's what happened today. And our audience was not feeling it. Not feeling it. They're like, Pat, we didn't came for your views, bro. Like, now our audience, I would say, is, like any business audience, tends to be a little bit more
conservative,
center right-ish, whatever.
Yep.
And obviously there's some amalgamation of what even
I
right
would say
is.
that's what Pat is, just watching him.
No doubt. You know, he says he's independent, His first president he ever voted for was Clinton, but yeah, he's
center right.
He's definitely not voting for Biden. Let's just say that. Or Hillary.
What about Bernie?
No, not Bernie. That's actually one of the first questions he asked me. He's like, "Are you a Bernie guy?" I'm like, "Nah, not even." So we start to lose subscribers on valuetainment.
Yeah.
And we've got, I don't know, a couple million at this point.
Yep.
So when you start losing 5, 10,000, you're like, what's going on here? So he said, and this is sort of, the theme of what we're talking about, we got to start a new channel. We got to start from zero. Just like everyone else, $0 in your bank account, 0 subscribers, 0 followers, and we're going to start something new. And here we go. It starts PBD Podcast with 0 subs. Yeah. Now, thank God we had a channel Valuetainment with already millions that helped kind of push it along, quick. But we started with nothing.
Yeah.
And there was some pushback with that. How are you going to start from 0? Where do you have this? So on that's where he felt free to really talk current events, politics. We definitely do business. We're #1 business podcast.
Yeah.
I know you said we talk politics, which we do a lot.
Yeah.
I would say our anchor is business, but a lot of it is
it's business politics. It's just how it all plays together.
No doubt. I mean, we're not shying away from it.
Yeah.
And, I've evolved, no doubt.
Were you a big politics guy before, or this has kind of made you into it?
It's funny. I wasn't like a big politics guy, but I had a nice, let's say, exit. I'm still with my company, so it's not an exit. But 2016, I took a break. I made a good amount that year. I'm like, I'm not coming to the office. I'm working from home, still doing my business. But it's election year, and I'm just watching TV every day. I'm watching MSNBC, I'm watching Fox, I'm watching CNN, I'm seeing, how could you not? Trump was this larger than life character, whether you love him or hate him, and there's a lot of both, you couldn't look away. It was a car wreck plus a train wreck plus an airplane crash. You just couldn't look away. And I'm just following everything, and I start to, okay, that's a senator. Cool. I remember in my civics class, 3 branches of government. Got it. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. That's sort of a dog whistle. That's sort of racist. I don't know. Yeah, the media's kind of spinning this one because I saw that and then, and I'm just like, all right, I actually like this stuff. I'm actually like, I'm into this.
He made politics entertaining
yes.
too.
And politics, unfortunately, is an entertainment sport at this point.
Yep.
It's nobody wants to see how the sausage is made and talk about Bill 47.2 of the Constitution. They want to talk about, you hear what Trump just said? You hear what Biden just did? He fell down. Like, it's become social media. So, yeah, we don't shy away from politics whatsoever. We talk about it. We have a strategy. Each podcast, we do a podcast prep meeting the day before.
Okay.
And we pick the top 10 stories that we want to cover. And it's usually 3 business, 3 politics, a couple current events, and a couple, trending news, funny topics to kind of lighten things up, because it is valuetainment. It's not all business and politics. We kind of want to have some fun stuff and talk about, culture. But we're very intentional with doing business stuff, economy stuff, markets, politics, elections, issues, culture wars, and then try to have some fun as well.
So I'll give you from the outside looking in, what I thought you're trying to do. I think every entrepreneur and content creator inevitably starts going more broad in order to reach more people. So it's like, if I was observing Pat from the outside looking in, which is what it's been till, I met him and everything else, but it's like, all right, he starts as an insurance guy, which has its niche and, it's pretty capped. Then you go into just pure entrepreneurship.
Right.
So cool.
Wider audience.
Much wider. Then what's the next biggest, widest audience? Politics.
Yes.
And it just opens the door for everything else you already do. It's just you're broadening the funnel even more. And it's something I've thought about a lot too for myself. It's like I started as a real estate guy.
Yep.
Then we go into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Now for me, I don't have any passion for politics.
Yeah.
And so, you got to be passionate about whatever.
Yeah, if you don't have a passion for it or stomach for it,
no.
Just recognize that and don't even mess with it.
It's
probably a better thing.
Yeah, for sure. So every time we've tried to do current events and stuff, I'll try one and I'll be like, that ain't me. I don't want to research it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't really care.
And you know what? That's a great thing for you, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're not going with the new trends or whatever. You're doing what you believe in and what you actually want to do rather than shiny objects. And everyone's talking politics right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking LGBT, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's not you.
No, I don't want to do it.
And I commend you for that.
Yeah. But the thing that I am passionate about is Christianity.
Okay.
And so for me, I've talked a lot more about faith on the podcast and everything else because, there's a billion Christians in the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of business owners and they don't really have anywhere to go. And I'm like, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
And
no doubt.
To the point of anyone watching this, you do have to start in a niche. You got to own it. You got to dominate it. And then as time goes on, you start to broaden out into other things that you really enjoy.
You widen the funnel, no doubt. The riches are in the niches. You got to pick something that is your thing.
Yep.
Like my thing started off as save that money. Like here's how you can save money.
Yeah.
Right? You started off with real estate.
Yep.
Right? Then you went into entrepreneurship, wealth, all that. You're expanding.
Yeah.
And then once you've earned that credibility, that authority, and you're empathetic to people, then you build up an audience and you're like, no, I like this guy, Ryan, man. This guy Pineda, like sharp dude. You have your core audience, you have your loyal followers, whatever, your tribe.
Yep.
Your vibe attracts your tribe. And then you're like, you know what, by the way, I'm proudly a Christian, by the way.
Yeah.
And there might be some people that are like, I'm not here for that, bro.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But there might be a whole segment of the audience that is like, I am here for that and keep going with that, Ryan.
Yeah.
I assume you get a lot of love for that.
Oh, yeah, for
great.
sure. Yep.
Yeah.
So I would say for anyone listening, don't shy away from what you actually believe. And that's the thing I love about social media now. And I know Pat has talked about it and you have talked about it where it's like everyone before, with cancel culture is like, oh, we don't talk about that.
Right.
And now you're starting to see this where it's like, nah, dude, like all this stuff happening with LGBTQ and all this stuff happening with corporate America and all this woke stuff. We're not about it anymore. And there's obviously a massive audience for it. And you guys are, I saw something else. You guys released a video the other day talking about like the history of how all that happened.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the kind of what I was saying is nobody wants to get into the nitty gritty of policies.
Yeah.
Right. Especially our politicians, they want to do culture wars. So what's the biggest culture war stuff right now? LGBT, specifically the T.
Yeah.
Nobody's being like gay people. Nobody. I don't care. Gay, straight. Nobody cares. Lesbian. It's the T stuff.
Yeah.
It's the T stuff. Dave Chappelle has a great joke about the LGBT. Is like, look, y'all. You guys have hijacked, a quarter of the alphabet. But I got to tell you, because now it's LGBTQ plus, blah, blah. I think there's a decimal point. It's high. I don't know what it is at this point. And I'm from Miami, South Beach, nightlife. Like, I know a lot of gay people. Yeah. Cool. All good. No problem. Zero. I have gay friends, lesbians, friends. I don't care. But the T stuff is what people are like, I don't know about all this, especially
with kids.
Yeah. And with women in sports.
Yeah.
So Dave Chappelle is like, you guys all have different agendas. The T's aren't exactly like the G's, and he gives this as only Dave Chappelle can do. And when I did stand up, I knew Chappelle and have been with Chappelle before, and he's just awesome guy. And he goes, it's like driving in a car, right? And, who's in the car? Well, obviously the G is driving because that's the man. The man's driving the car. Cool. And, nobody's got a problem with the man driving the car. The G's driving. All right, cool. No problem. Then, sitting shotgun is the L's, right? Lesbians.
Yep.
And everybody loves the L's. Nobody's got a problem with the L's except for the G's. The G's will say something condescending like, well, I wouldn't wear that or something like that. And he's telling this joke.
Yeah.
And then you got in the back seat, you got the B's. And the B's are fucked up. They don't know. Like they want to be with the G. They want to be with the L. Like the B's they'll fuck anybody, basically. Right? And then peering out the window, you got the T. And the T is, they're part of the team, but they're sort of making the road trip go longer and take longer because everyone was accepting the L's, the G's, the B's, but the T's, it's like, hold up now. By the way, for the record, this is Dave Chappelle's joke. I'm not hijacking it. These are his opinions. I'm regurgitating the greatest comedian alive, Dave Chappelle. And there's sort of like this unease in the car about the T making the trip go longer. And the T basically was like, I got to use the bathroom. Can we stop? And the G combusts. He's like, there's not a fucking bathroom for 3 states, bitch. We're not stopping. He's like, Jesus, I just need to use the bathroom. And it's like this whole running joke. And the T situation, look, if you're an adult and you want to transition, go for it. Nobody cares. But it's, 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, kids that are making these life-altering decisions before puberty. They're taking puberty blockers and taking all these hormones and literally chopping their thing off.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to be 16 to drive a car. You need to be 18 to vote. You need to be 21 to drink. But you can be 10 years old and change your sex.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Very weird that a doctor would do that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I'm just for the record, people hear this and be like, oh, he sounds like a homophobe. Not at all.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not. When I used to do stand-up comedy, right? Because I did comedy for many years. I would say it's not racist if you make fun of everybody.
Yeah.
Asians do this.
That's what South Park was good at.
Exactly. Asians do this. Blacks do this. The whites do this. The Jews do this. The Christians do this. Latinos do this. The gays do. Cool. You're calling things out. But where it gets weird is where you just call one thing.
Yeah.
One thing. So, I'm not transphobic. Phobic means a fear of something. I don't fear anything with that. What I do fear is that young kids are very impressionable.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have kids, but I have a 10-year-old nephew that's my best friend, it's my guy. And all my best friends are married kids. I'm cool Uncle Adam. One day I'll have a wife and kids and do all that, but it scares me to think that one of those kids would even think about transitioning because they don't feel a certain way. When we grew up, when a girl played sports, she didn't want to become a man. She was just a tomboy.
Yeah.
And I knew many tomboy girls. One is now happily married with a family, all good. One is just a lesbian now, all good. But they didn't transition to a male.
Yeah.
And when you're, how old are your kids?
4.5 and 3.
Oh, so you got
and
young
a third
kids,
on the way.
dude. You got young kids. So this should be a concern. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Especially in school system, you're successful enough that you probably don't have to put them in
we're
public
homeschooling
schools.
now.
You're homeschooling.
Yep.
But this is a thing, and I don't, because I don't have kids, I don't get all in on that thing.
Yeah.
But I do host a show that I have myself, a big influencer like you on, and then a panel of 8 to 10 women, and we cover these types of topics.
Yeah.
And it's funny when I interview these women, they'll talk anything. What you're looking for in a man, what's your body count, what's checklist of guys, girls, but when you bring up should biological men, trans women be allowed to compete in your sports, they're like, well, I don't really want to go. I don't want to get canceled. I don't want to talk about it. I'm just like, so are you cool with a dude being in your locker room? Well, no, not really. And so it's sort of been skirting along.
Yeah.
And, one of the beautiful things about valuetainment is that we start with value, but we also want to entertain.
Yeah.
And from a comedy background and a finance background and a host background, I can kind of go any angle. So we have a channel called Valuetainment Comedy with Valuetainment. It's led by my buddy Vincent Oshana, the #1 Assyrian comedian in the world. And there's only like 4 of them. So right. So
Stiff
I said,
competition.
Vinny, what would be awesome, bro? He's got a beard, like a beard.
Not mine.
No,
a real one.
He didn't need Rogaine is what I'm saying. So I said, why don't you dress up as a woman, full on, wig, makeup, but don't shave your beard, put on a dress and come on the show and be running late. He's like, I love it. Let's go. Pushing the envelope. So I start the show, ladies, how we all doing? Great to be here. Awesome having you all. It was one lady running late. She'll be here in a little bit. Bear with us, blah, blah. And I'm kind of like peppering them with like, oh, she just texted our booker. She'll be here in 15 minutes. Eventually, she shows up.
Yeah.
Sits like in the middle of the panel. And she's like, what's up, bitches? The hot chick just showed up. Full on beard, Ryan. Okay? And the girls are like, what is happening right now? And I'm like, hey, what's going on? His name's Vinny.
Yeah.
I'm like, so, you're an hour late to the podcast. Like, what's going on? He's like, well, I'm Vincenza. And, I identify as translate. So I'm a little late, whatever. And just doing the whole like identification game and all that. And the women on the panel are like, what the hell is happening right now? And he's just going in. Well, it's not often that I'm the hottest bitch on the podcast. And these girls are like, and all of a sudden some of the girls start to lose their shit. And one girl, smart, capable, beautiful woman, she's like, you know what? Enough's enough. What is happening right now? You know how easy it is to shave your beard? It's like the easiest thing to do when you're transitioning, right? It's like step number 1, you're showing up with, and he's like, razors are expensive, bitch. Like, and they're going back, and the women are freaking out. And only one woman on the panel, my co-host, knows that this is a bit. And I'm thinking these girls.
What are you doing as the host right now?
I'm playing it straight. I'm like, ladies, let's give the man an opportunity to talk. And he's like, I'm not a man, I'm a woman. I'm sorry, you're a woman. This is my buddy.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you came in, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know who Ryan is,
Yeah.
And they're freaking out. And the coup de grace was one of the girls, my co-host, I call her like the female Jordan Peterson. Like, she don't play that game. She's like, I don't want dudes in the locker room with me. I played sports. I'm not only competing against Ryan Pineda and Adam Sosnick, who are like semi-professional sports guy. Like, I don't want to compete. Like, no, like this is not my thing. I'm not turning this into like a Leah Thomas situation, the swimmer and all that.
Yep.
And she went up, she got up, she pulled off his wig, chaos ensues. And I was like, listen, man, like this, don't call me man. I was like, I just have one question for you. Have you gone all the way? Have you chopped it? He goes, no, Adam, I haven't. Okay, so I'm like, so your twig and berries is all still intact. I'm like, so why are you a woman? He's like, because I feel like I'm a woman. Motherfucker. And I'm like, get the hell off the show. And the clip goes viral. It's crazy. It was wild. But we kind of had to expose that women, they are the ones who should be speaking out the most. Yeah. It shouldn't be some dude who has no affiliation with the T community to be doing these things. It should be you women having the courage to be like, yeah, I don't think that dude should be in the locker room with me, especially if they have beards and a full-on package. And I shouldn't be competing in sports with them. Yeah. So we used satire and comedy to sort of like let the cat out the bag. Yeah. And then, show's over. All the girls like, what just happened? I go, Vincenza, are you still here? And they're like, she's still here. We thought we kicked her out. And Vinny comes back. Yeah. As Vinny, like a dude. Yeah. And they're all like, oh my God, like freaking out. Yeah. And they're like, you got us. I'm like, well, you got God a little bit. But bottom line is it's just very weird what's going on. I don't think we should hate these people whatsoever. I don't think we should be transphobic, but like I said with comedy, it's not racist or phobic if you question everything.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think at the very least should be questioned.
Yeah.
Especially with the kid stuff and women in sports stuff. So that's how I'm at.
I'm going to immediately watch that clip. I got to watch this episode. You have to send me the episode.
I will.
I'm going to check that out. No, I agree. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. It's definitely the women that should be having the issues with it. And I think, like I said, the world is starting to react to it, right? I mean, the Bud Light thing, the Target thing, like people are speaking with their dollars of like, we're not playing this game anymore.
Yeah.
Like this
go
is so
woke, go broke.
Yeah.
Right?
And companies are now realizing like, okay, this is, it's not, and you know, the funny thing with the Bud Light situation, I said this before, I'm like, why even do it? Like, you know, your core audience, every smart business person knows their audience.
Right.
You know who's buying from you, right? And it's like, I'm thinking in my head, who buys Bud Light? Freaking rednecks, frat kids, like
dudes who like beer.
Yeah, like
not Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't get why you thought this would be a good idea.
Because every company, you know, these days, for good or for bad, mostly bad, is concerned with their DEI, ESG score. How familiar with that?
I see Pat talking about it nonstop. I don't really even pay attention to what it is.
DEI is diversity, equity, inclusion. Okay. ESG is environmental, sustainability, governance. There's these just like acronyms of like, how woke are you? How inclusive are you? Right? So like one of the weirdest things was like United Airlines, right? They said this a few years ago. They said, you know, moving forward, all of our pilots, 50% will be men and 50% will be women. And that's what we're doing because we want to encourage equality and inclusion and diversity. And that's great. And on the surface, you're like, yeah, of course. Like,
so you realize there's only a bunch of men.
That 90% of pilots are men.
Yeah. That's like,
okay. So then it's like, all right. So are we more concerned with virtue signaling or actually landing planes safely?
Yeah. And running a business.
But more importantly, landing planes safely.
Yeah.
And getting people to where they got to go.
Yeah.
So then, you know, obviously people are like, well, what do you mean? Like all 50, like there's not even enough female pilots
to do this. Yeah.
And then it's just like, but they're concerned with their ESG, DEI.
And you know what would happen with capitalism on that is the women now become more valuable. Because there's less of them, supply and demand.
Yep.
And if you got to go have 50% women, guess what? I'm holding out till I get a better offer because there's just less.
Yeah. Yeah. And the biggest problem and one of the beautiful things about America is that it is a meritocracy. And that if you put in the work and you earn and you take 5, 10, 20 years to become that person, that dude, that woman, you will be judged on your merit and your skill set and good things will happen. Mm-hmm. Like, were your parents millionaires?
No.
Okay. Were they immigrants? Like, where were your...
My dad was from the Philippines.
Okay.
Yep.
You know, my parents, very middle class.
Yep.
Okay. Very. And the beautiful thing about America is you can come here, and I think 85% of millionaires are first generation millionaires.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of America. Not a lot of countries could say that. Very few, actually. But we're a meritocracy. But when you start removing merit out of the equation and start just checking a box, all right, we've got our Asian guy.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got our midget, literally. Like, we got to have small people.
Yeah.
All right, we got our obese woman, got our black woman. You know, like, we've checked the boxes. You're not solving for skills. You're solving just for diversity on the sake of diversity alone.
Yeah.
And for me, I grew up in Miami.
Yeah.
Melting pot. All my friends, Latinos, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans, Haitians, Jamaicans, Jews, Catholics, Christians, whites, melting pot.
Yeah.
And I judge people, I mean, not to turn into MLK, not by the color of their skin, but the content of their character.
Yeah.
And you're no longer solving for content of character, and you're just solving for checking a color or an ethnicity. And for me, it's more important to have a diversity of ideas, a diversity of thought, than diversity of skin color.
Yeah. No.
So
100% agree.
that's a challenge here in America. And, you know, this is where politics and culture wars bleeds into the business world.
Yeah.
Where you have Anheuser-Busch,
You got to deal with this.
InBev, Target, Bud Light, these United Airlines, who are not focusing on profits and, you know, the bottom line. They're focusing on identity politics.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've interviewed him a few times. We just did a big town hall with one of the leading Republican candidates who's crushing it these days, Vivek Ramaswamy. How familiar with this guy?
I saw a little bit of the podcast you guys
The guy's
did.
a beast, bro.
Yeah.
Came from the business world,
Made a bunch
tech,
of dough. Yeah.
made a bunch of dough, pharmaceuticals, all that. And he's written books called like Woke Inc. And he's basically saying how corporations are no longer focusing on the bottom line, ROI, return on investment, and they're focusing on these DEI, ESG scores, and it's losing money for the company.
Yeah.
But they're trying to sort of play that balance of not pissing certain groups off, but also
What happens if you piss these groups off and you have bad scores? What happens?
exactly what does happen is you know, the Twitter mafia will come after you,
Got it.
and the picketers and the rioters will
Got
show
it.
up.
That's it.
And what we've learned is that if you just stay true to your core beliefs and your values, they'll move on to something else next week.
Yeah. Look at Chick-fil-A. They came under fire
Yep.
so many times, and they're like, "That's cool. Whatever. We're still just gonna do what we do."
We're going to close on Sundays.
Yeah.
And that's our belief. Cool.
Yeah.
We're in America. Still
Yeah.
First Amendment here.
Well,
And-
I just remember a few years ago when LGBTQ community was like, "Hey, they supported this nonprofit who's anti." And they're like, "We're gonna shun Chick-fil-A." And then I remember seeing all these parodies come out where they're like, "Why has it
Right.
got to be Chick-fil-A? We don't want to. Like, we want to. It's so good. I don't know if I
All
can
wanted
do
was
it."
a chicken sandwich, man.
Yeah, and
I
then
didn't need
it-
a chicken sandwich as a side of woke agenda.
Yeah, and then it blows over a month later.
Exactly.
Nobody cares.
Exactly. And then so if you don't capitulate to the woke mob, or
Yeah.
to any mob for that matter, and you stay core to your beliefs, they will move on to something else. They will find their next
Target.
thing to complain about.
Yeah.
You know, the next victim mentality mindset.
Well, let's talk about this since it's part of the same topic. But somebody who got, became the most searched man on the internet, Andrew Tate. So,
Yeah.
he started attacking this, I don't even know, a little over a year ago,
Yep.
and blew up to fame, just calling out all these different things in the world that people have been thinking about and too afraid to say. And you guys interviewed him early in that, and then
Yep.
you recently interviewed him again, I think,
Yep.
in Romania after all of his, everything that happened in between. And I mean, it was like one of the most viewed podcasts ever. It's crazy. It
Yeah.
was like 5 hours long.
Great. We've done 2 of them, 5 hours,
Yeah.
and we're like, are people going to watch this? It's like, yeah, it turns out.
Well, and I'm
long-form
noticing that too,
content.
even with our podcast, is like, I want to go longer. It's like, and I know you guys are doing that too. It's like people
Yeah.
want longer conversations.
Yeah.
So with Tate, I mean, I don't know. What do you have to share about all that?
Yeah. I'll just start with saying I really do think he is the top G. Okay. I've learned a lot from the guy. I consider him a friend, not like in a friend, like we're best friends, but like
Yeah.
we're cool.
Yeah.
Like there's similar vibes there, and also his brother Tristan.
Yeah.
But I'll give you sort of the ascendance of Tate from my perspective.
Okay.
So, for me, I always did money content. Save that money, should you buy or should you rent? Should you go to college, not go to college? Should you do a 401k or Roth IRA? Money, 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 money. And Pat would always say, you need to reinvent yourself. You can't just do the same content over and over and over and over. I said, all right, well, what do you think? He goes, dude, you've been in nightlife
Yeah.
your whole life. You played sports your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in with the Kardashians, and you were in the wedding, and your best friend's an NBA player, and he married Kim Kardashian. And
Who was that? Humphreys?
Humphreys, yeah.
Okay.
Like my best friend
Okay.
from my basketball days.
Yeah.
So, and I can tell you that funny story, but it's like you need to add that to the mix.
Yeah. And
me, foolishly enough, I'm like, nah, I don't think so, Pat. I think I'm just going to stick with the money stuff.
Yeah.
All right, you do what you want to do, buddy. And then that was in Dallas, and then that was in Boca. And then finally I was like, all right, we're now in Fort Lauderdale. It's a half hour away from Miami. I know tons of people here. I know tons of women influencers. All right, great. I'll start doing more content with women. And I rebranded myself, which I was fully on board with after a while. And I went my show, kind of how you went from Ryan Pineda to The Way of Wealth, right?
Yep.
And The Wealthy Way, apologize. And I went from just Soz Talks Money to Sozcast, and it's where finance meets romance. So the intersection of money, dating, relationships, marriage, family, work, all this, and that sort of landed me into these conversations with the Red Pill community guys, if you're familiar with this, or the Manosphere.
Yeah.
And I sort of became all up in that world. And, you know, luckily enough with Valuetainment, we've got producers and editors and bookers. So I'm like, all right, book me this guy. Let's see if we can get this guy. All right, all right, cool. Like, Adam, what do you want to do? Like, they allow us to be creative and focus on what we want to focus. And by the way, when I started just going from like 401ks to like 304s, which is like code word for hose or whatever, it's like your views go from 5,000 to 100,000 overnight. And I'm like, all right, cool. But I actually know this stuff. I actually know relationships. I actually know dating and nightlife and all this stuff. So I give you that context to say, hey, book me Andrew Tate. Okay. And this would have been in early 2022.
Okay.
So let's say February, March of 2022. So I tell Pat, because we have these booking meetings, hey, there's this guy, Andrew Tate, coming on, or I'm trying to get him on the show.
He hadn't really gone super viral
He
yet.
was becoming viral, and he did a lot of content with buddies of mine, these guys, Fresh and Fit.
Yep, they were here.
Okay, yeah, awesome.
Yep.
So Myron and Fresh.
Yep.
And we've done content together and events together, and they do a great job, and they do their thing, no doubt.
Yep.
And so Andrew Tate's doing that, and I say to Pat, so I'm going to get this guy Tate on, I think. And he goes, I think you should, man. That'd be great for your podcast. For you, Adam.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man. Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Right? Meaning like, he's like, yeah, I'm not, that's not my thing. Right?
Yeah.
6 months later, okay, not only, Pat doesn't leave to travel. Like if he leaves to travel, it's
a big deal.
It's a big deal. Like he's anchored to where he's at in Fort Lauderdale. His home, his office, the business, the studio are within a mile radius. So if he's traveling somewhere, it's like someone's paying him a lot of money, or like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I tell you that whole background to basically get to the point that 6 months later, we're flying to go interview Andrew Tate in Madrid for PBD podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, because Pat was like, oh shit, not only is this worthy of my time, I'm gonna go to him.
Yeah.
And we were the first podcast to interview him after he was canceled.
Yeah.
So this would have been September of 2022.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you sort of the time horizon. March, hey, Adam, be good for you. 6 months later, we're flying to Tate in Madrid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically what you're saying is Pat just listens to you. You're like, we got to go to Miami. We got to get Tate.
Right.
Yeah.
Pat does what I say. Exactly.
Yeah, you're the guy.
We got to go to Tate. But it was more about the ascendancy of Tate than anything.
Yeah.
Is that the guy went from like, yeah, have him on your show to like, gather the troops. We're all flying to Madrid. And then, so that's September. Do a 5-hour sit down podcast with Tate. And we're talking about being canceled.
Yeah.
Right. This is at the height of cancel culture and shadow banning and all this stuff. And, you know, the Matrix.
Yeah.
Everything with that. And he got canceled from social media, and it started with Meta and Instagram and Facebook. Then it became TikTok and YouTube. And so on and so forth. Then it was Uber and Lyft and Airbnb. And then it was payment processors and Stripe and Square. And the list goes on and on and on. And I made a joke like, do you think these guys are all like on a group text or a WhatsApp group? And he's like, oh yeah, no doubt. Because they pressed that button and everything went away. Boom. So, I had a great time with the guy. He was talking more about being canceled and not allowing people to talk and the Matrix. And then 6 months later, 3 months later, he goes to jail.
Yep.
Romania. What?
Yeah.
Human trafficking? Okay. Like there's a big difference between saying things that are controversial or saying things that people don't like or being a misogynist or a chauvinist, but then jumping the shark and now you're a human trafficker.
Yeah.
And like after spending time with someone, I'm not saying everything they do, but I'm not getting human trafficker vibes.
Yeah.
I'm getting badass, kick your ass, steal your girl, make money vibes, but not like I'm trafficking women to make money off of them.
Yeah.
Right? So that happens. He's in a Romanian dungeon for 90 days. He gets out, he's on house arrest. And then there were conversations of like, who's going to be the first to interview Tate? And there was a very short list, right? Tucker was on that list.
Yeah.
Pierce Morgan was on that list. Valuetainment, PBD, myself were on that list. And Pat, I think, has earned his trust and knows that we're not doing gotcha interviews the BBC attempted to do.
Yep.
And got annihilated with this lady, Lucy.
Yep.
So we went there not as like, we're here to have your back and defend you, or we're here not to disparage you. We're here to hear your side of the argument.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Hear you out. Like kind of what journalism is supposed to be. And we did another very wildly successful 5-hour sit down. Then we did another hour and a half with Tristan.
Yep.
Spent the entire day from basically sun up to midnight.
Yeah.
Dinner, drinks, hookah, cigar, the whole thing. And, those guys are legit. And in my humble opinion, I think it is a rigged system where they wanted to, guilty before innocent. They wanted to arrest him and charge him and then just hopefully find something.
Yeah.
Now recently, as of the filming of this podcast, they've been released from house arrests. They're allowed to leave the house. And my assumption is that he's 100% guilty of these human trafficking charges. And it's just going to be sort of a shakedown.
You mean not guilty?
Not guilty. Did I say guilty?
You said guilty.
So 100% not guilty. Cut that out. 100%
I was
sorry.
like, whoa, that turned.
100% not guilty. I apologize. 100% not guilty of these charges. They're trumped up charges. I think it's all BS. And I think they're going to...
I saw something on Instagram today.
They're going to make him basically pay a fine and try to take his money in tax evasion or something like that.
I don't know if it was
innocent is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I don't know if it was true or not, but I saw today, and I mean, this podcast probably won't come out for a month, but that the judge already said like, yeah, this is like, there's not really anything here. But
well, I asked him, I said, let me ask you, Tate, you famously did webcam business with women. Okay? Because that's true.
Yeah.
I said, well, what part of everything you're dealing with now of human trafficking is a byproduct of that? And he goes, well, none of it. And I'll tell you why. He goes, because I was doing that in the UK 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Got it. And you might have noticed webcam women, sex workers, completely fine.
Yeah.
OnlyFans is like the number one product of women these days, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with it. And if anything, it's actually legal.
Yeah.
So that's not, and I'm actually not being charged with that, to set the record straight. He's being charged with having women do TikTok dances and taking their TikTok money. Now, I'm not sure how much money you make from TikTok, but they don't pay shit.
Yeah.
So it's just all so weird and all so mumble jumbled.
Yeah.
And there's three sides to this, to kind of put a ribbon on this. There's the people who are like, I hate Andrew Tate. He's 100% guilty.
Yep.
Right? And there's people like, I love Andrew Tate and the guy could do no wrong. And then there's the people who are like, well, let's see what evidence they have. And let's see what the facts are. And if you're following the facts, there's something rotten in Denmark, right? Like to borrow a line from Shakespeare and Macbeth, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
You know, and he even said, he goes, what kind of successful multimillionaire all of a sudden at age 35 with everything going great in your life just decides to start human trafficking? Doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So I think it's all BS and 100% guilty. 100% not guilty. Sorry, guys.
There we go. What do you subconsciously think?
No, not at all.
So-
long night in Vegas. 100% not guilty.
There we go. So when you guys go into those interviews, do you think like, hey, we're planning on this being 5 hours? Or does he just like to
Yes.
talk? Oh, so you already know. You're like,
Yes.
this is going to be
If,
5
like,
hours.
We're flying out to Spain or Madrid or Romania. It's like, we're not doing an hour podcast. Like we're doing a marathon.
Yeah.
And the dude can talk. I said to him, I said, you know, because we're at his compound.
How is his compound?
Sick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Romania and a random, you know.
Yeah.
I
Does
don't
he
know
got
what
security guards and all
security
these
guards,
guys?
gates, the whole deal.
Yeah.
But it's in Bucharest, Romania. It's not like it's in,
Yeah.
you know, Miami South.
Does it look like a cartel compound?
You know, it's a compound.
It's got those
Let's just
vibes.
say that.
Okay.
And, you know, he's got these kickboxing belts up on his wall, like all up there.
Yeah.
And I said, Tate, let me ask you. I said, for as badass as you were being a kickboxer, world champion 4-time, I would argue you're actually an even better speaker and wordsmith and linguist. And he goes, yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I work at this. I
Yeah.
practice. Anytime I do I watch it back. I'm very careful with my words.
Wow.
I practice what I say. Like he doesn't have slip ups like how I slipped up right here. I gotta take a lesson from Tate.
Yeah.
100% not guilty, by the way.
Yeah.
So he's a gifted speaker. He's captivating, and you know he's earned the moniker Top G for good reason.
Yeah. Self-titled.
Yes.
But he's lived up. He's like Kobe
Exactly.
Bryant, the
Mamba.
Black Mamba, you know.
Exactly.
He gave it to himself,
What's
but he
your
earned
nickname,
it.
by the way?
Dude, I don't know.
You don't have a nickname?
I don't have a nickname. I need one.
Pineda?
Pinata? I don't know.
The Piranha?
The Piranha? Okay.
Ooh.
I like that.
The Piranha of business, Ryan Pineda.
that could
What's
be
up?
that could be a
Yeah,
thing.
my nickname was actually pretty easy because my last name's Sosnick. So everyone's like, yeah, Sauce. Just SOS, Sauce, you know?
SOS sounds weak though.
Yeah. It sounds weak?
Yeah, it's save our souls. You're like, dude, I need help.
No, it's also...
SOS.
Some people do need help.
But that's you saying, I need help. I'm incapable.
Not me. I got the sauce. You know, they saw
You're the guy providing the
I've
sauce.
got the sauce. You know, they talk about
Okay.
these days everyone's got the Riz or the sauce. You know about this?
No, I don't.
Bro, you're younger than me. You got to keep up with these kids, bro.
Dude, I don't.
Riz is short for charisma.
Oh.
You know about that.
Okay.
Got the Riz.
All right.
Or the sauce, the secret sauce.
I know
It's
what
like-
the sauce is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I get
yeah.
it. I get
It
it.
also can be save or spend, right?
I'd never heard that one.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. There's a lot of SOS, but also SOS, you throw through dollar signs in there, there's a logo right there, baby. So it just
Yeah.
writes itself.
Yeah. No, I like it. The
Piranha.
The Piranha. We'll see if it sticks. Let me know in
Your
the
buddies
comments,
when
guys.
you played baseball?
Well,
you didn't have a nickname?
My nickname in baseball was Rhino.
Every Ryan is Rhino.
I know.
feel.
So that's why I didn't even want to bring it up because
Yeah.
it's not me. It's
Yeah.
just
No,
my
you're not
name.
Rhino.
No.
I mean, you could be, but like I know
Yeah.
I know like multiple rhinos.
Yeah, that's why I didn't even bring it up. But the Piranha, nobody's called the Piranha. That's a thing.
Did we just start something?
They do say
Did
that.
we just become best friends?
I think I've never heard that one. You know, people strive to be a shark in business.
Yes.
But a piranha's pretty deadly, dude.
Beyond deadly. And they swim in packs.
That's true.
And you got a whole
I got a whole
sick
squad
operation here.
Yeah, I don't need to be
You
a
got a
solo
squad
shark.
here.
You know,
No. Yeah. And you know,
we've got a lot of piranhas.
you
here.
talked about, you know, sounding weak. Pinatas are weak.
I know they are.
They're there just to get the shit kicked out of them. Nobody messes with a piranha.
No.
It's like, you want to go in a fight with a pinata or you want to go in a fight with a piranha? Yeah, I'll take the pinata for 1,000, Chuck. Nobody wants to mess with Ryan the piranha Pineda.
I like it. I like it. So another guy you guys had on that I thought was hilarious, and you tried to do a good job with him, was Antonio Brown.
AB.
What's going on with this guy?
Yeah, well, that was like a year ago, I want to say. And, you know, for any casual football fan, that was arguably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the NFL for a decade.
Many years, yeah.
Right? I mean, over the last...
Statistically.
Yeah, over the last 20 years, who do you got? You got Randy Moss. You got Terrell Owens.
Yep.
You got Calvin Johnson. You got Antonio Brown.
I had Terrell on the podcast,
Larry
too.
Fitzgerald. You got T.O.?
Yep.
Sick. How was that?
Good dude, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good dude. So, you know, Antonio Brown's, he's a guy.
Yeah.
And he came in, you know, an hour late, maybe 2 hours late, after rescheduling. You know, Pat's a busy dude.
Yeah.
Right?
You can't just be 2 hours
Pat
late.
don't kind of play that game, but he's like, all right, we've already down this path. He shows up late and definitely drunk, probably high, and, you know, somewhat disrespectful off top, right? And, you know, I've got maybe not the best IQ. You know, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing all right. But I think I've got good EQ. So I felt like he didn't really fully understand what he was walking into. He sees this big building, podcast, you know, guys in suits, and business guy. I don't think he really understood that Pat was an Iranian refugee, you know, that came from nothing and became a wildly successful entrepreneur. I just think he was like, he's seeing the final product.
He thought you're
right?
just some random
You're just
podcast
some business
radio
guys
guy.
doing whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, AB, you're from Miami. I go, me too. I go, I knew where he went to high school. I go, where'd you go? He goes, Norland. I go, NMB, North Miami Beach. He goes, those are our rivals. I go, I know, brother. We played you guys in football. Like, I know. He's like, all right, 305 Miami. Like, so all of a sudden he's like warming up to me a little bit.
Yeah.
I was a wide receiver in college. You're a wide receiver in the NFL. I'm not saying I'm AB at all, but I'm there. I'm being like Miami guy, football,
wide
high school
receivers,
rivals,
a lot of commonality.
wide receivers. Like,
Yeah.
we know a lot of similar people in Miami. I'm kind of ingratiating myself, make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, and Pat, and that's usually my role on the podcast anyway. Hey man, how long are you in town? What's up? What's up? Where Pat's like kind of prepping the notes and really, so, you know, Pat starts with the bio of AB. And, you know, he goes, here we have, you know, NFL legend, you know, Antonio Brown. He led the league in receptions and yards and touchdowns and Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, welcome to the podcast, AB. And he goes, you didn't say the whole bio, man. He goes, you know, I'm also a rapper and I'm also a father and I'm also a husband. And he just kind of goes down this checklist. And we're like, yeah, but nobody knows that of you, right? Like that, like we'll get to that, but like, let's let the podcast play out to let your story develop. But like, if you go to the casual guy and say Antonio Brown was on the podcast, like, oh, the football player?
Yeah.
They won't be like, oh, Antonio Brown, the father? You know, oh, Antonio Brown, the new rapper? No, right?
Yeah.
So like, he just went like within 0 to 100, like the first minute, he's like, that you didn't do the bio. And like, Pat was like, all right, well, like, what do you want to do? Whatever.
Did that part air?
Oh, the whole thing aired.
Okay.
The whole thing aired. And I don't want to spend too much time on AB, but what I will say is the first half of the interview was the most uncomfortable, weird interview podcast possibly ever. Like, I'm not even saying that we've done. I'm saying in the history of podcasts, like weird, awkward, argumentative. At one point, we all just kind of sat silent for a second. Like, he didn't want to talk. It just got super awkward. And, you know, and Pat is a very proud dude. Like, you came into his house and disrespected him.
Yeah.
And Pat ain't playing that game.
Yeah.
And I kind of picked up the ball and ran with it. And I was like, listen, AB, man, we're trying to have a talk with you, bro. Like, you know, AB was basically, he got mad about like the CTE questions, which is the brain stuff, which is a thing in the NFL.
Yep.
He was just, you know, I knew where he grew up. I grew up 15 minutes from there. All right. I grew up in North Miami Beach. He grew up in, he went to Norland. He went, Liberty City, which is like known as the hood, right? Yeah, I'm from Liberty City, dog. You don't understand what it's like. And Pat's like, I'm from Tehran, Iran. Like, you know, we got gangs out there. We got guns. He's like, we get bombed. Like, if you want to go victim mentality, like, as much as I feel you on Liberty City, it ain't Tehran where they will behead you if you don't wear a hijab. Like, we can do that, you know, and I'm just like, listen, you got to understand. And the second half of the podcast, complete 180. You know, I'm like, hey, you know my friend so-and-so and so, the guys that run Rolling Loud, which is like the biggest hip-hop festival. I'm like, you know Matt and Tarek, right? He's like, oh, those are my guys. I'm like, I've known those guys forever. Oh, cool. Oh, you know these guys. You know, I'm like, and he's like, all right, like, you're pretty cool, dude. You're pretty cool, white boy. I'm like, yeah, I am. Thanks, dog. You know, like, but I'm just trying to like have a conversation. Yeah. Because there were some things that we did need to discuss. Yeah. Namely, he's the president of Donda Sports, which is Kanye's sports agency. This is at the height of Kanye going on his anti-Semitic tirade. Yeah. We'd like to talk about that with you. Yeah. I don't want to talk about Kanye. Okay. You played and won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, the GOAT. Yeah. You're posting pictures online of you basically trying to bang his wife while he's going through a divorce. Yeah. We'd like to talk about that. I don't want to talk about Tom Brady. So like any main topic we wanted to talk about, all right, let's talk football. I don't want to talk about football. It's like, then why are you on the podcast, dog?
What do you talk about?
I'm like, and then him and I start arguing. I'm like, we brought you here to ask you questions. Well, I don't want to answer your questions. I'm like, then why'd you come on the flipping podcast, homie? He's like, yeah. And then, I don't know, Pat just, kudos to him, just went complete like, yo, let's take the headphones off and let's just talk like men for a second, right? Like, it almost would be if I was like, listen, Ryan, look, man. Yeah. He went that route, and it was so powerful because he's like, dude, we'll stop the cameras right now. We can talk. Like, we're not, they didn't gotcha interview. And he came out of his shell, and I think he realized we weren't there to get him. We were there to do what podcasts do and talk about topics that people want to hear. Yep. And he opened up, and he was real. And the second half of the podcast was amazing. Yeah. And the podcast ended, and he gets up, he goes, best podcast ever. Best podcast I've ever done. And we're like, and he's taking pictures and signing autographs with everybody. And it was just like, what just happened? And a lot of people.
Maybe he sobered up.
Maybe. and maybe AB. And a lot of people were hitting me up, and they're like, look, it's usually Pat's show. Right, you're the number 2, but like you really stepped up here, bro, and you did your thing, and major respect for you on that one. And I was like, that's just me, you know. I'm not faking any of this. So, wild situation, but I don't know if AB's coming back on again. Right, but I'll get him on your podcast, bro.
I don't know. I'll have him on.
I'll trade you TO for AB. What do you think?
Oh, I've had a lot of NFL guys. So I had TO, Von Miller.
Beast.
Beast. Derek Carr's my boy, so he's been on.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Sick.
And
where's he playing now?
He's in New Orleans now.
Okay, gotcha. Because he was with
the Raiders.
Vegas.
Yep.
Well, it was Oakland and then
Vegas.
Yeah, he's a stud. So now he's trying to fill Drew Brees' shoes, huh?
They're tough shoes to fill.
Beyond.
But you know what's funny? Watching the whole AB situation unravel, like when he was still playing, to see him go from Pittsburgh, where he's just so good, right? Yeah. And you had heard about him being a diva and all this crap, and it was just like, whatever, dude. He produces. Let him do him. And then to just see how quickly everything spiraled within just a couple of, like, because he went to the Raiders, and he had all that drama with the Raiders and Gruden.
That's right. I forgot about the Raiders. That's right. He went to the Raiders. He signed a big contract. They released him. Then he went to, New England?
Yep.
And then Tampa.
Yep. And I just remember that whole thing with Gruden. There was, like, tons of drama about like some recorded phone call he had with Gruden and all this stuff.
There was some racist stuff going on with Gruden, allegedly.
Yeah.
So that whole thing?
Yeah. So there was all this stuff. And it made me think, and then now obviously seeing just like how wild he is in his life, I was like, man, dude, I got major respect for Mike Tomlin. Like that was the first thing that went in my mind. I was like, this dude kept this guy in check.
Tomlin don't play.
He had Le'Veon Bell, who also held out and like caused drama.
Yeah.
Then he had like
Big Ben and all the drama with that.
Big Ben had drama.
Yeah.
He had Schuster Smith, who's also had his own, whatever. I was like, how did that guy keep that whole team together? And like every year, just really good. I was like, I got mad respect for that guy.
Yeah, Tomlin. He's still coaching Pittsburgh, yeah?
If he's not, somebody should hire him. If you could keep all those
I think
guys.
I'm thinking that they have a new quarterback or new whatever. Yeah, but
yeah.
Crazy.
So
do you ever talk sports on your podcast? I mean, well, obviously you got these sports guys.
Yeah, I got these sports guys on, but honestly, man, every time I talk sports, my audience usually tunes out. They're not here for it.
Same with us, by the way.
Okay.
We've had the AB thing is more of like a
that was
cultural phenomenon.
That was entertainment
at this point.
Yeah.
But we've had UFC guys on. We've had George St. Pierre, and we've had baseball guys, Roger Clemens and Kurt Schilling, and Francis Ngannou, and we've had names, right? But I just think kind of like what you were saying is that like know your audience, know your niche. So now we don't like Pat just interviewed Khabib, UFC legend, yesterday, but you can't do everything. So sports, I can talk sports all day long, but
we'll probably have to just talk it off camera.
Okay, man.
But like what's funny is I've like watched all this play out in my own life, right? Because we're both athletes.
Yep.
And so when I was in sports, I was super into it, right? Like I knew everything about everyone and
baseball specifically, or
everything,
all sports.
All sports.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm just a sports fan, and once I got into business, I started to watch it less and less because, right, I'm focused on my business and doing my thing.
Yep.
And now it's like I have an idea of what's going on. And obviously I love like playing sports and talking. Like I just came from golf before this podcast.
Yeah, I heard.
So every time, like I love sports, but I have seen like my interest in sports is so significantly less.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, dude, all these guys just changed in free agency again, like whatever. But when before you'd be like, dude, where's he going? What are the rumors? And like, but I think that what it comes down to is I do think like the normal W-2 population, they're into that. Like they have nothing else to do. And then I think the entrepreneurs who are like watching our stuff are like, dude, I don't have time for that. Like I'm trying to grow my business.
Yes. Can I give you a really good story? It's so funny that you're bringing that up. So I can pinpoint when the reason I'm even sitting on the Piranhas podcast right now.
That's right. We're changing the name.
The reason that I'm even doing what I'm doing right now and sitting down with wildly successful guys like you and running with Pat and doing the podcast and sitting down with you name it, comes down to one thing. It came down to taking my Sundays back. So I was that dude that was in 4 fantasy football leagues.
Yep.
Woke up, hungover, partying in South Beach Sunday morning, waking up so late that I'm scrambling to put in my lineup for all my 4 teams.
Making trades.
I'm that dude, bro.
Yep.
And every Sunday I'm sitting around watching the games. I've got 4 different teams. I got this person. I'm rooting for this person. And, then that's your Sunday. But then next thing you know, it's Monday night. And Monday Night Football, and that's where, the weekends, fantasy football, the big Monday night game. And then, then they got Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, now
college football.
Then college is Saturday. And it's just like, enough's enough, dude.
Yeah.
I spent first 30 years of my life, let's say, being a huge sports fan.
Yep.
And it started with the realization that I need to take one step. And I said, I'm taking my Sundays back. I went cold turkey, told all my guys that I was doing fantasy football with. I was with a group with one of my best friends, all my best friends from growing up, my college buddies, my coworkers at the financial firm. I was in all these leagues. I'm done, guys.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Saz? You've been there. You're a day one. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm not waking up late on Sundays anymore. I'm not being hungover. I'm not sitting around watching the New Orleans Saints play the Atlanta Falcons at 4:35 p.m.
Yeah.
To see if Drew Brees can duel it out with Matt Ryan. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? And what that did was open up 24 extra hours of my life.
Yep.
And by 24, I mean like 48. And by 48, I mean like 72 because so much football's going on, so much sports.
Yep.
And
all the
all
time
right.
you spend BSing in between, thinking about trades,
talking about the
to your
game,
buddies.
the trades, the waiver wire,
Yeah.
the pickup.
Yep.
But it just started with me not doing that. And then what that led to was like, all right, what do I want to do on Sundays now? All right, cool. Well, you know, this content thing is kind of cool. Well, let me start using the Sundays to start doing content. Let me use that day to go do man on the street interviews, because that's how I basically started doing man on the street interviews.
Got it.
And I was like, all right, Sunday's my new day to go out and interview people in Miami.
Yeah.
And then that led to like, all right, now I'm working with Valuetainment and doing a podcast. Now I'm on sitting with guys like you, but I can trace it back to being so uncomfortable with wasting my time
Yeah.
on fantasy football and wasting my Sundays. So any of you guys out there that are just being comfortable and just doing what everyone else is doing, you know, sometimes you got to, you know, your comfort zone will kill you. You got to go against the grain and do something completely different. And 5 years later, you might end up hosting one of the biggest podcasts of the world, or you might end up having a new business, or having a new revenue stream, or finding the girl of your dreams, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're just opening up more time, because the time, you know, is the most valuable currency.
Mm-hmm.
So money's great, but time is even better. So
Way better.
Take your Sundays back, gentlemen.
Yeah. No, I love it, dude. I even just thinking about that, it's like, yeah, you know, you only have limited time, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to accomplish big things, you have to cut other things out. It's not like you can just add more time.
No.
So it's like, all right, well, the Netflix has got to go. Am I sleeping too much? Time to wake up earlier. Sports.
I cut Netflix out. Haven't had it in 3 years. All that. Yeah. And it's, I like doing 3 things pretty much is what it's boiled down to.
Let me guess. Content, work.
Content. Yeah. Okay. No. Okay.
Yeah. Content, work.
Yeah. Well, I like working.
Yep.
And making money.
Yep.
Okay. So that's the finance stuff and content. That's all just work.
Okay. That's one thing.
That's just one thing.
All right.
I love hanging out with my buddies.
Yep.
Like, I have good friends. I have a great
What do you do?
network.
Just go to the clubs.
No, I mean, I would still consider myself a weekend warrior.
Okay.
Right? Like, I work my ass off 5-6 days a week, and yeah, I'll go out on the weekends. I have a bar in South Beach, so I'll go, you know, it's like my Cheers. Go to Bodega if you're in Miami. It's an amazing bar.
Yep.
I like hanging out with my buddies, and that might mean Patrick. That might mean you spending time with guys that like I want to network with, right? Like that. There's a
you
form
have commonality.
Of content. Commonality. You know, once a month I'll get together with all my best friends from growing up. They're all married with kids, and I get the kids' experience, and I'm the fun uncle. And who wants to come with Uncle Sos? Me? I'm like, none of you. I'm leaving. You know. And then, you know, I like hanging out with pretty women. And I like going out. I live in Miami, and I'm not like some.
So you're out dating and.
So I'm dating. I mean, I'm not.
Are you gonna get married, have kids anytime soon? Like, what's the goal?
I'm looking for a wife, bro. It's harder these days.
So what do you think? How do you think that will change once you're married?
Well, I certainly won't be hanging out with all the chicks anymore. They're hanging out with one amazing chick. Luckily, there's, you know, as you become more successful and you become more of a high value man, let's say, you have more options.
Is that from Fresh and Fit? I think I remember them saying that a lot.
It's just like, whether you want to call it a top G, a high value man, a successful guy, just like that dude, like more options, because men are judged by their success. Women as a primary indicator, right? Whereas women are judged by their beauty as a primary indicator. Yeah. Now we all have other qualities. That's fine. But it's
your initial first glance. Yeah.
If you always hear stories of women say, you know, when I met my husband, I really wasn't even that attracted to him.
Yeah.
But something about him.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was the success, whether it was charisma, whether it was humor, whether it was his intelligence,
Yep.
Whether it was his Riz, his sauce, whatever, he won me over.
Yep.
He was persistent, whatever. You never hear women say, I love my husband. He's the hottest guy in the world. You say,
Yeah.
well, maybe you. But you say he's such a great man. He's got a great character. He's a great father. He's a great contributor. He's a great leader. There's manly qualities. Whereas when a man gets married, they say, my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
So as a man, and there's nothing wrong with saying this, is men are visual creatures.
Mm-hmm.
We like pretty. Nobody's going to be like, yeah, here's my ugly wife. You know, that's just not a thing, you know? And, you know, so I was briefly married in my early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't encourage you meeting a girl in the club and then get married quickly, gentlemen. Take your time. But I was solving for, she was the prettiest girl.
Yeah.
She was a beautiful blonde British girl, and she was very feminine and delicate and gorgeous and liked to have fun and party. And I had just started making money, and I wanted to be that dude taking her on trips. And I didn't realize that there were some dark traits underlying that I didn't really vet for, like materialistic and not, you know, not exactly at that phase of her life an ideal wife. We're not ready to be a mother. I wasn't solving for those things that you should be solving for.
Yeah.
So I had a mulligan marriage.
Yep.
Luckily I had a prenup, got out good. We're still friends. She recently got married.
Yeah.
She called me to let me know. I'm so happy for you. If you ever see this, mazel tov, congratulations. But, you know, because since I had that experience, now I'm like, all right, the next time I'm going to do it the right way.
Yeah. And
what I was solving for was completely different. And I did meet a girl that I was like, all right, guys, I got her.
Yeah.
I found her. And unfortunately, you know, they say that man plans and God laughs. She's a young, beautiful girl. This is 2018, 19, those days, 24, 25 years old. All of a sudden, she diagnosed with cancer. Healthy girl, model, gorgeous, good person, good family. And broke my heart, broke her heart, broke family's heart. Thank God, knock on wood, she's doing better now. But she had to move back to where she was from in Michigan, Detroit. And then COVID hit, and I couldn't go visit her anymore because I was doing the visitation thing and going through chemo. And I'm by her side while this gorgeous girl is bald in a chemo, and I'm with you, babe. And like, it was just a really tough time. But you know, when one door closes, another door opens. If I would have moved to Michigan or COVID didn't happen, whatever, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go align myself with Patrick and move to Dallas and do valuetainment. And, you know, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And now
everything happens for a
everything
reason.
happens for a reason. And Patrick has built his entire business, his 9-figure business that he sold recently, on couples. It's all couples. It's always, they're running the insurance business. It's all couples.
Yeah.
So Patrick, you know, I have two best friends, two people in my ear, let's say.
Yeah.
I have Patrick, Adam, you know, you're 42 years old, you're 40 years old. It's time to get married. Time to settle down.
Time to grow up.
Time to grow up.
Yeah.
Time to change, time to adapt. And I'm like, yeah, Pat, you're absolutely right. I'm with you. I'm waiting. Look, you know, he's in my ear.
Yeah.
And then my best friend, who's like the Don Juan DeMarco of Miami, Latin, good-looking guy, looks like Enrique Iglesias. He's like, get married, bro. We're killing it. What are you talking about? So it's like during the week, I'm hearing this, and on the weekends. But I think ultimately for me or any of the guys out there, it's just be very clear with what you want out of life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very clear that I want to have family, that I want to have kids, that I want to be a good husband, that I want to be a leader, that I want to be that guy.
Yep.
So now I'm just solving for who's not the hottest chick, or, I mean, obviously beauty's a thing. It's who's going to be a great wife, who's going to be an amazing mom, who wants to be with me while I'm growing for the next decade or two with everything that I'm building. And like, there's some good candidates out there, but
there we go.
Yeah, but it's
my man
you've been married how long now?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, I got married young.
You got married young.
Yep.
Okay. But did you always know that you wanted to get married?
Yeah.
Did you always know? Like, you knew that?
Yeah, it was faith-based wise. I just knew I wasn't going to date and party, and like I just wanted to get a wife and get started. And we waited a while to have kids, but we got married when she just turned 21, so very early.
And how old were you?
I was 24.
So you're a few years older.
Yeah, a couple years older.
Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got her before all the chaos happened.
Yeah. So
all the mistakes are made.
Well, I think there's, look, I can give you a million stories about the benefits of being married and happy marriages, and I can give you a million stories about divorces and everything with that. It's really, I think for a man, right? Most of your audience are men, young men, entrepreneurs.
Is that what your guys is too?
Yeah,
yep.
No doubt, right? I think a lot more women are starting to watch my show because I handle a lot of intersexual dynamics. It's called the role of a man, protector, provider, woman, wife, mother, but also working, all that. So I think my audience is still mostly men, no doubt, probably like 75-25, whereas our core audience is like 90-10, 80-20-ish, in their 20s, 30s, 40s. I think if you're young in your 20s as a man and you know what you want out of life, I know I want a wife. I want to have a family. I'm faith-based. I believe in this. I have convictions. I have principles. Then go for it. Go for it. And because I feel like a lot of wildly successful men have an amazing woman by their side.
They do.
And they're not distracted. And they can focus on the business and being present with their wife and family. And I'm sure there's challenges, and marriage ain't easy.
Yeah.
I've already had one failed one, but I wasn't solving for the right things. So that I think that's great.
Yeah.
I don't encourage men to get married young unless they are with 100% conviction that they know what they want.
Yeah.
And you seem like one of those guys.
Yeah.
But most young men don't.
Right.
Most young men, I would encourage young men, don't even think about getting married until you're 30, until you're the best version of yourself, until you have the ability to have a career, pay bills, take care of a woman, be a father, be a grown-up, be a leader, be a man, be responsible for other people.
Yeah.
If you want to screw up in your 20s and mess around and date around, go for it. All good.
Yeah.
But don't do that the rest of your life. And then the next thing that I would say is, I know a lot of people that get married young who are not sure of what they wanted, right? That don't have your convictions and don't have your work ethic and don't have your principles, they don't have your faith.
Yeah.
And they're just happy-go-lucky and into it.
Yeah.
And now I'm at the chapter of my life where, all my friends are basically turning 40 now, right? And they've been married 10 years. So now the divorces are coming. And I'm seeing it. Oh, you heard about so-and-so. Oh, shit. All right. Oh, you heard about so? Oh, damn. All right.
Yeah.
And that's starting to happen now. And so I've experienced it. I've seen it. And if you don't do it when you're young, like when I say young, 25, 30 years old for a man, I think it's perfectly fine to wait, become wildly successful, play the field, but at some time you need to pull the ripcord and stop being so selfish.
Yeah.
Because if you're only solving for yourself, it's a very selfish life.
Yeah.
Like I have the ability to be very selfish.
Yeah.
I make my money, I live in a nice place, I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I go out on dates. It's very selfish.
Yeah.
But that to me is an unfulfilling life. I think you're going to want a family and kids, and that's the next phase.
So let me give you 3 points that you made me think about. On the selfish point of view, I have seen this as a major problem for people who wait later, especially women too, right? Yeah. Because even if you go into
I can tell you a lot about the women waiting.
Yeah.
So.
But like even, you go into the role dynamics. If you're a woman and you've been providing for yourself your entire life, it becomes very difficult to all of a sudden cede some control to a man, right?
Independent boss babes.
Yeah. Like it becomes really hard. And to your point, even as a man, if you've been selfish your whole life, it's hard to now fit this person in because like you just have so many years of this habit, right? Whereas you get married super young, you don't have 40 years of this habit. You're like, yo, I got to learn how to be selfless or else I will not be married.
Correct. The
right?
selfish, the antonym is being selfless.
Yeah.
When we have a wife and kids, that's what you are.
Yeah. So I think that the longer you wait, you do develop these habits unknowingly. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
You just don't know until you're married and in that kind of thing.
No doubt.
The second thing you brought up was, just like having some kind of faith tying you together. And you're like, look, I didn't realize there was this underlying thing outside of the great beauty that we did not align on. Right. And so for us, we got married early because faith-wise we aligned. And so no matter what, we knew there was no like subjectivity to it of like, oh, well, I think that it's this. I think it's like we always knew there was a source. So if we do have a dispute, we can go to the source.
Which is an amazing power.
Yeah, and it makes things way easier versus, well, this is what I believe and this is what I believe. Who's right?
Right.
I don't know. Let's see some therapist or counselor who also has their own subjective beliefs of whatever, right? So I think that becomes a second thing that's hard. The third aspect of it is marriage is just like a business, right? If you don't have check-ins and KPIs and, accountability and, set schedules, like you wouldn't show up to work like just randomly when you want, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to have a great marriage, well, you got to be intentional with your schedule. Like, hey, we do date nights every Friday.
Yeah.
We hang out with the kids these days. Like, we have dinner as a family every night. Like, you have to incorporate those that would lead to success. You don't just film your podcast when you feel like it. There's a schedule.
No doubt.
And that's what leads to success. And especially with marriage too, and like a business, it evolves over time. And so Valuetainment 10 years ago isn't what it is today.
Right.
My wife 10 years ago isn't what she is today. And so if we're not adapting and evolving as we all, and I'm not the same, right? If we don't adapt and evolve, then the marriage ends up dying or, falling just like a business because everything around you is changing. You're changing. So just a lot of thoughts on how all this happens.
Let me ask you a few questions or give you some I guess thoughts on my end. So when would you say that you became successful? Whatever your definition is.
I'll tell you, I always thought I was successful, no matter what I was doing, right? Okay. Because I was in college, I was an All-American, so I'm like, I'm a boss, right? I get drafted, even though I was making $7,000 a year in minor league baseball. I was like, I'm still a G. Like,
how about, so maybe rephrase it,
financially successful. I would say in 2016, which would have been like my 4th year of marriage, was the first year I ever made 6 figures. So if you want to say that's financially successful, that was the first time.
So your kids are 4, 2, and you have a...
my son's going to be 5,
okay.
3-year-old daughter, and then we have one on the way.
Okay. And is your wife working?
No.
Okay. So your wife is a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
Best job in the world. Most important
very hard job.
Most important job in the world.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Most important
very
job
important.
in the world.
The fact that I don't have to worry about my kids is amazing.
So how did you guys decide that you would go work and crush it?
We knew before we got married.
And do the wealthy way, and then she would be the maternal, loving parent that would not work and that she would stay home with the kids. How did that come about?
Before we ever got married, it was discussed.
And she was totally cool with that.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is a beautiful
And
thing.
by the way, we didn't know I was going to be rich. Like, we got married broke.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something she saw in you that was like, this guy.
Yeah. Well, I was a professional baseball player. So we thought maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good looking, professional baseball player, carries himself well, faith-based.
Yeah.
This guy's a catch. No pun intended with the baseball thing. But
this guy's a piranha.
I think, the reason I'm asking that is because, they say there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's something amazing about that, is that she's your anchor. She's taking care of the kids. She's holding down the household and allows you to become even more wildly successful.
Yeah.
Because how is a woman with 3 kids, you said there's one on the way?
Yep.
Congrats, dude.
Thank you.
And how long?
Any day.
Okay. How is a woman with 2 kids and a 3rd on the way supposed to run a business? very hard to do.
Yep.
I assume and I assume you have help.
Yep, we have a nanny.
Okay, but I assume even with the nanny, life ain't easy for mom.
No, she's got
and
stuff every day. And we're homeschooling.
Like her job.
Yeah.
Like it's a very hard job. Like respect to your wife, respect to what she's doing. And for whatever reason, the rise of modern feminism of, I'm a boss babe, I'm a CEO, and that's great. Do your thing, ladies. But there's nothing more important than that.
Yeah.
And you said, as you get older, you're a little more set in your ways, you're a little more selfish. I agree.
Yeah.
But you're also a little bit more, if you become that guy, like that, top 1% of men, top 10% of men, whatever, because you have options, you can be more selective, and you don't have to be simping to the one girl that talks to you.
Yep.
And the thing that I've noticed, because we've been going for what, 2 hours now, whatever it is.
Yep. I don't think we're going to get that second podcast.
Okay.
It's all good.
I don't know. All right. But I've had maybe, 10,000 hours, maybe 1 million hours of conversations with women about relationships.
Yeah.
And here's what I know. Men were built to provide for dependence.
Yeah.
We were built for that. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like, let me go make money so I can go get me a beautiful woman, have a family, have kids, and let me be that guy taking care of the kids. I am built for this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Women, these days, they're not solving for having dependence and providing for dependence. They want their independence.
Yeah.
I don't need no man. No one needs to pay my bills. I'm doing my own thing. I'm a girl boss. All good for you. It's all good.
Yeah.
But you can be smart or you can be wise. But the difference essentially with wise and wisdom is experience. Mm-hmm. So I'm not 30 anymore.
Yeah.
I'm 42.
Yeah.
So why am I telling you this whole thing? Because I know so many women who are turning 40 right now that I've known for years that made their money, but they don't have a man.
Yep.
They don't have kids. They don't have a family. And low key, they might not come out.
Yeah.
They're very sad.
Yeah, they're miserable.
They're very sad.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is these many times were the hottest girls in high school.
Yeah.
The hottest girls in college. Like any guy would have had them. But, they go through their party phase from 21 to 25. They start to get a job. They start to have a little bit of independence.
Yeah.
They're, next thing you know, they're 30. They have a career. They're focused on their career. And as they make more money, there's a concept called hypergamy, which is women practice hypergamy. How familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
So it's the act of dating up. It started from the caste system in India. Okay. Right? Where the goal was to get your poor daughter to somehow marry a guy from one level up.
Yep.
And women were built this way, okay? For over thousands of years. So the more money a woman makes, they will never date down.
Yeah, their options become more limited.
Their options. So if you're that woman making 6 figures, good for you. What percentage of men make 6 figures? 15%?
Yeah.
Okay. So now if you want that guy that makes 6 figures, 85% of the population is now undateable. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm not saying you need to dumb yourself down or not achieve your goals. But then when you extrapolate and say, well, I'd also like him to be 6 foot.
Yeah.
I'm a tall guy. I want to be taller than me. Cool. What percentage of guys are 6 foot?
Yeah.
The average height in this country is like 5'9". So now your 15% just went down to 7%.
Yeah.
Well, I also like him to have charisma and be good looking and be a good person and be a good family man. It's like what you're describing now is a 1% man.
Yeah.
Now, 1% men, if every woman is going after a 1% man, he now, law of supply and demand, has options.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, I've seen women who are my friends, Ryan, girls I've known that not even my friends, girls who wouldn't give me the time of day in high school. Now I see them at 40 in the club and I'm like, what are you doing here? They're like, Adam, we should go out sometime. I'm like, I'm not going out with anyone that went to high school anywhere near my time, because I want to have a family. I want to have kids. So I'm dating women in their 20s
Yep.
or maybe early 30s.
Yeah.
Certainly not their 40s.
Yeah.
So I got into some war of words with Chelsea Handler.
Oh, did you?
Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't hear about this.
Dude. So I got into it with Chelsea Handler, who's arguably the top female comedian. I don't know, her, Amy Schumer, I don't know. And I wasn't even calling her out. I said, because my show is finance meets romance. So I back up cultural concepts with data, stats, finance. So I read this report put together by Morgan Stanley, pretty credible source when it comes to finance.
Yeah.
And it was called the she economy, right? Not the economy, but the she economy. Women are making more money than ever. They're in less relationships than ever. They're waiting longer to have kids. And the stats show that by 2030, so in the next 7 years, 45% of working women, 25 to 45, that working woman age, what have you, are expected to be non-married, no kids, no family, single. So my message to the women out there is, don't think of yourself when you're 25. When you're 45, what do you want out of life? And I constantly have women on the panel, when you're 45, would you rather have $1 million and be single, or have no money but be happily married? And every single woman's like, give me the money. And not give me the money, give me the family.
Yeah.
Right? There's that. There it is.
You're no Tate.
You know? So
let me edify what you're saying.
Well, let me say one thing, and then I'll give it.
Yeah.
So Chelsea Handler gets a hold of this clip.
Okay.
And she goes all in. Look at this douchebag. This small dick energy, this, that, the other.
Did she even know you were?
No clue who I was.
Okay.
She does now, though, Ryan. And she's just like, this is what's wrong with men. They think they know what women want. Ba, 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 ba. And I say, okay. She's like, she goes, he thinks he's an alpha. Take it from a real alpha. That was how she closed out.
You're like, that's the problem.
And I go, Chelsea, therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
No man wants an alpha woman. We want a feminine, beautiful female that just like how women want a strong, capable provider, protector men.
Yeah.
We have different. So I tweeted back at her. I go, that's the problem, Chelsea. You think that men want an alpha woman. Maybe that's why 50 Cent, Joe Coy, and Bobby Flay hit it and quit it, right? These are guys who have famously dated her, but didn't marry her.
Yeah.
So she responds with another attack, and then we go back and forth over a course of a month. People are like, dude, Chelsea Handler, she's calling you out, girls, that's the other. But again, this is my opinion, great, but don't just take it from me. It's kind of almost, we talked about, you know, I'm speaking about the T community, the trans stuff, but I want to hear what women have to say about this.
Yeah.
Oh, it turns out you don't want men in your locker room. Turns out you don't want to be competing with men in sports. So it turns out when I ask all these women, they actually do want to have a family. They actually do want to have kids.
Yeah.
And they don't want to sacrifice it all because they made some extra money.
Yeah.
So Chelsea, if you see this, I'm sorry we broke up. I still love you. We'll get back together.
So with that, Fresh and Fit was on. And so we were talking about a lot of these.
Well, this is their language.
Yeah. So we were talking about a lot of this. And it's just funny because most in this, I don't even, like you said, red pill alpha kind of male community, most are single guys doing it. And like, I'm listening to it as a Christian married guy.
Yep.
And I'm like, actually, a lot of things you say are very true. And they're not just true subjectively or scientifically, but they're true biblically.
Yes.
They're in the Bible.
Yeah. Tate talks about this.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And that's how my wife and I have lived, because we go by what the Bible says. And like, our marriage is great. It functions the way God intended it to function. Yeah. And, you know, to go back to your point of, you know, this percentage of men that they're looking for as they get older, getting smaller. One point you forgot to mention too, that's really important, is that as you get older, the pool of single men also diminish because they're all married.
Yes.
So how many men are married after 35? Like,
great point.
your pool is cut in half tremendously just from that.
Yes.
And then, you know, it's funny because we were having lunch outside one day with the office, and the girls start talking, and, you know, we have amazing employees, and we were just talking about life and marriage and singleness. And I didn't realize how many of them were single. And we started just like,
how old are they, by the way?
30s.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. So I would guess the average age is 30 to 35. And I looked at the room and I said, wait, why do we have like all single girls? Like, we have some married girls, but the majority of guys are married. And they're like, we need some more single guys, like not in the company, but like at the events, like, can you hook us up? And I was like, why do we have so many single girls in the company?
Yeah.
And it just started to occur to me. I was like, I guess this is like the new business thing.
Yeah.
Because
are they doing well financially, the women?
Yeah, they do well.
Like,
yeah.
Give me numbers.
I mean, they all make different things, but I mean, there are some that are probably like, I don't know, 70, 80,000. Yep. Some might be six figures, some might be lower, but you know, wide range, right?
Yep.
No, and actually, there's definitely a lot. I forget, our sales team wasn't here, so our sales team makes the most. So, anyways, we just started talking about like we need to start a wealthy dating, a wealthy marriage, a wealthy singles mixer, and all this stuff. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, the demand is big, but the more and more I started to think about it, I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense, because if they're here working in business, like that would be the career path of, because if they were married with kids and everything, they're probably at home. And then I started to think about our HR director, who actually had to quit because she got pregnant and she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And so then we ended up giving her a different position where she could stay at home because she wanted to still be a part of the business. But it all just makes sense, like what we're saying. And then the thing we started to talk about out there, because I literally asked him the same thing you were saying, so, like jokingly but serious. I go, okay, you guys want me to hook you up with somebody? What do you want? And so we started going down. I go, how much do they have to make? Well, they got to be successful. Okay, what do they got to look like? And one of them said, well, I'd really like them to look like Tom Hardy. And I go, well, hold on. I go, hold on.
Yeah. Like only one of the biggest actors in the world who's a badass and
well, I go,
multi-millionaire.
Okay. I understand the dream, but what's this? Like, are we willing to take a 6? Are we willing to take a 7? Like, what are we looking for? And, you know, I go, okay, now here's another thing. Everyone here is getting older. That means that the field of men you're going to get are probably already divorced if they're available.
Great point, by the way.
And I go, and they might have kids, right? Are you willing to accept?
How willing are you to be a stepmom?
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, no, I can't do that. And I go, well, this is the whole root of why we have a lot of not just here, but why women are single in their 30s.
Yep.
Because it's not necessarily that maybe they're picky or anything. It's just like that ship sailed in your 20s, because all those guys who were looking for wives and like that have no kids and have never been married are in their 20s. You've been married, you know, like if you don't want a guy who's been divorced, you can't even date my guy Saz over here, right? Like there's so much that happens as you get old, like, and that's just life. You just accumulate baggage as life goes on. And so
it's what a great point by you, by the way. And you're seeing it in real life, in real time play out. And, you know, for the record, there's nothing wrong with a woman, you know, getting a degree, going to college, getting a job, making money. Like, we're in America, capitalism, baby. All
my
good.
wife was a teacher before we had kids.
The best wives, nurses and teachers, right?
Yep.
But at what expense does that come for you personally?
Yeah.
Because one more year, I'm going to make more money. All right, I'm going to try harder. Because the skills that are transferable in business, that make you successful, tenacious, long hours, hungry, not stopping, going for it, doing it, leader, builder. When women start to acquire those attributes, that makes them an alpha. Yeah. And they become the man, as Steve Harvey famously pointed out in a viral clip, they become the man that they want to marry. And then the guy that they want, the Tom Hardys of the world, he's like, I don't care that you're doing good and bad.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a beautiful,
I want someone who's going to support me
and be there for my side. So I'm often asked, who has it harder, men or women? Who has it harder, men or women? And on the surface, men have it harder.
Yeah.
They got to do the hard jobs. They're the ones literally dying in war in Ukraine right now. They got to go be, paving the roads and being in the military and being on the scaffolding. And that's great. So on the surface, men. But if you look at it from like a mental, emotional, figure out your life pathway, I would argue that women have it harder. Yeah. Because one of the things that I love of being a man is clarity. Dude, it's pretty clear. Make your freaking money, look good, kick ass, like don't be a scumbag,
the rest
have a
will
good
fall into
network,
place.
and everything else will fall in place.
Yeah.
So for a woman, all right, if clarity is what you're solving for, should you be a boss babe? Should you start a business? Should you be a mother? Should you be a trad wife and focus on raising the kids? There's no clarity there.
Yeah.
Because despite popular belief, it's very hard to do both.
Yeah.
Your wife is taking care of 2 kids right now, pregnant in a 3rd.
Yeah.
Imagine if she had to go run a sales meeting right now.
Be crazy.
It's just unfair to women. I think women
I would not,
have it harder.
I agree. I would not trade with my wife jobs. I come and freaking talk to guys like you and just chill and
what a horrible job, bro.
Like my job's easy. And so I don't work on weekends. That's our rule. And I watch the kids on weekends and hang out.
Awesome.
And give her a break. And it's my time to like bond and
great
everything.
And the mother should spend more time with the kids. But when you are, especially breastfeeding, nursing, but then when you show up and you're there for the 2 days, let's say, daddy's home.
Yeah.
Quality time. There's that masculine male presence.
Yeah. And it works
teaching them
amazing.
what it's like.
It works amazing. And for me though, after the 2 days, I'm like, all right, cool. You take them for 5. Like
2 days, I'm out.
Yeah. Like the 2 was good.
Yeah.
But to also just like put a clarity on this, love all the women in our company. They are amazing. So if anyone's watching, you guys are the best. And I do want to find you guys men.
Right. And I assume that they want to find men.
Yeah, no, and for sure.
Right.
And the whole point with the line of questioning, that what it came down to was, and I even told them this, I go, guys, we're going to have to lower your expectations because that's just what.
Oh, you mean they're going to have to settle?
Well, I go, this is just what it is, guys. And it's funny because one of our girls was like, no, I've already accepted. I'm going to be a stepmom. So like it was jokingly,
she wants that
but she was
successful
serious.
guy that is a little bit older, more established.
Yeah.
She might have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, it's just, I would assume in the world of business, this is a normal thing that women struggle with, to your point of why this is if you're really going down the path of your career, it becomes very difficult to execute having a great career while raising kids, while being a great wife.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard. There are people who do it, but they're the outliers.
Yes.
They're not, it's not normal.
Correct.
So
yeah, you used a very significant word right there, and the word was path.
Yeah.
So, for a man, with the clarity thing, it's pretty clear. Like if you're driving down the highway of life, right? Life is a highway. Yeah. As a man, just start driving.
Yeah.
Now you might have to change lanes.
Yeah.
Change careers. All right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, keep it moving, brother.
Yeah.
And the longer you drive,
you're
not a sprint, life's a marathon.
Yeah.
The more success you'll have.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you don't have to change lanes / careers too often.
Yep.
Or you add maybe you buy another car, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you're going straight.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to have that life of family, kids, husband, which I assume most women do want, right?
Yep.
Like if you want to hack the system, just don't have a husband, family, kids, or be a lesbian. Go. I mean, you could do that. But to use the highway analogy, you're going to have to pull over.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go get some gas.
Yeah.
And go into a service station and have some kids.
Yeah.
And you might be pulled over for 2, 5, 10, 18 years.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to get back on that highway again.
Yeah.
So what's easier to do?
Yeah.
As a man who just stays on the highway, or a woman that has to pull over?
Yeah. No, we got it easier.
It's like for people that maybe see clips,
they're
like, sounds like a chauvinist, bro. The exact opposite. I love women.
Yeah.
Maybe too much. I want them to be happy.
Yeah.
I want them to have families.
Yeah.
I want them to have kids.
Well, that's how I felt about when Jamie left, I was like, man, it sucks to lose her, but that's amazing that she's
Correct.
going to go do that.
Right.
And we ended up still finding a way that she could do both. So it was
Right.
great. But dude, I mean, we've been going almost 2.5 hours. I don't have 5 hours like Tate.
Yeah. This has been great, dude.
Yeah, this has been great. I got one final question for
Sure.
you in regards to Valuetainment and everything you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Like, where are you guys taking it? What's the goal?
So the goal, well, we're very unique, and I'll tell you why. Because the vision is to build a media company that's not left, that's not right. That is, I feel like there's a wide open, just gap in the marketplace for just no narrative, just telling the truth.
Yeah.
Right? For independents, for free thinkers, for entrepreneurs. There's that. So we are definitely going all in on the media space, podcasters. Pat's going to be announcing some new names that are coming to
I saw he
Valuetainment.
offered like $100 million.
He offered $100 million to
Tucker
Tucker Carlson.
Crazy.
Right? And then we also sat down with Chris Cuomo, famous from CNN, who we got along with amazingly. And there's a conversation with that potentially.
Yeah.
So, for every Tucker that we might bring on, we'll bring on
the other
Cuomo,
side.
whatever.
Yeah.
And let's have
balanced
these
approach.
conversations, fair and balanced, but like literally. But what makes Valuetainment different is so we've got 2 floors in our headquarters. The first floor is the production company, the media company. We have the editor-in-chief, we've got the producers, we've got the editors, we've got the writers, we've got the camera guy, we got all that. So, but on the second floor is a business consulting.
Yeah.
So PBD consulting. And that's
that's where Valuetainment makes money.
That's where Valuetainment makes the bulk of its money.
Yeah.
So we do business consulting.
Got it.
We consult with very successful guys,
Yep.
Business owners
Yep.
who are looking to scale their business. We also have courses and classes for just your everyday guy trying to get better with money.
Yep.
We put together several events throughout the year. So at the end of this month, by the time this comes out, we do an event called The Vault.
Yep.
The beginning of September every year.
Cool.
Tom Brady's speaking, Mike Tyson's speaking.
Where do they go to get tickets to that?
TheVaultConference.com.
Cool.
Check that out.
Cool.
I think we've sold out of CEO tickets and executive tickets, and
Cool.
so that's upcoming. So I think there are some GA tickets there. So that's sick. We do some business planning workshops and sales leadership
Yeah.
events, and we also developed an app called Minect, where you can connect with experts and influencers and pay by the minute.
Oh, wow.
So Patrick's on it, PBD, Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, myself.
Sick. Awesome.
You should come on this thing, by the way.
I'll hop on it.
100%. We'll set you up.
Yeah.
All sorts of, Charlie Kirk just joined.
Yeah.
Business guys, political guys, fitness guys.
Cool.
Where you get paid. Because I assume, how many times do you, Ryan, or be like, hey, Ryan, just can I get 5 minutes of your time, bro?
Yeah.
Which turns into 10 minutes, which turns you to, just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So now, or if someone DMs you, how many DMs can you really get to?
Yep.
It's a challenge. But on Minect, you can set your schedule,
Yep.
set how much time, you want to charge per hour or per question.
Yep.
You name it.
Yep.
Right? So Tate charges $500 a minute, whatever. I charge $15 a minute, whatever it is. And you can make money for your time. So
Sweet.
if there's young people out there that need help and
Guidance. Yeah.
guidance, whether it's business, entrepreneurship, life, dating, you want to talk to the top G, Patrick, whatever,
You can do it.
you can do it. And there's pretty much 100% success rate.
Yeah.
Because it's going to come through the app, and the influencer expert is going to make money from it.
Yeah.
So it's worth their time versus dude, this guy just DM'd me out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this. So that's also another business avenue. So the business consulting
Cool.
Group is sort of feeding the beast.
I love it. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on, spending a long time with us, bro. It's good to finally really connect, and I'm excited for everything that's coming down the pipe.
Well, I want to publicly, number one, thank you. This has been great. This has been almost like a year of trying to figure stuff out. You were at Valuetainment, you interviewed PBD. I appreciate that. You have an open invite whenever you're in South Florida. Clearing my calendar. You're coming on.
Let's do it.
Maybe your wife would allow you to be on with several other women on a panel.
All right.
To talk with them.
Yeah. Give them some advice.
Give them some advice, biblical advice.
Yeah.
I think women would listen to a guy like you because you're not
It's a different
disrespectful.
perspective. Yeah, it's a
You're
different
married,
perspective.
you're a family
Yeah.
man, you're kids, you're humble, but you're also successful. I would love to have you on my show.
Cool. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Guys, go check out the show, and maybe I'll be on it here very soon in
Hope
Miami.
so. Next time.
Make sure you
check out
subscribe to this.
Valuetainment, Valuetainment Money. You can follow me, free
Yep.
plug, at Soz Talks Money on Instagram, on Twitter, on all social medias, and look forward to the next time, brother.
Cool. All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
For you at this point, you have like a massive business, a massive social media following. Like, where are you spending the majority of your time? What are you really trying to grow?
Within Valuetainment, there's a consulting business that we run. There's a vault business that we run. There's a podcast business. There's original content